Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Sports Gaming Anonymous podcast. This is episode number 9. Hold for applause. All right. I am Flash, a.k.a. Ree, a.k.a. whatever. Joining me, Dre, the best producer in the business. What's up?
What's good, y'all? How's it going?
Man, we out here. My man C1, your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. What's good?
My kids is like swinging from the ceiling fans. I can hear it in the other room,
Nice.
and it is nuts. And it's cool because this is the life, you know what I mean? So I'm feeling great. How y'all doing?
Hey, we good. I mean, as long as you're good with it. I mean, it's the life you chose. So as long as you're happy with it, you good.
Yeah. I made all that shit. It's just something you think about, you know what I mean?
True.
That's one way
Look at your kids, and you be like, yo, sometimes I grab my babies, and I just grab them like this by the face, and I just look them dead in their eyes, and just be like, yo, you came from my balls.
Yep, and they're like, I don't understand.
You be bugged out. They be like, they don't know what the fuck to say. They're like,
what would you expect them to say?
Right. Like, yeah, I can't be your balls. Like, they can't be enthused about it or nothing.
Right.
So it's just a fact of life, and I find that very funny. But I kind of wanted to kick things off.
Hey, go ahead.
On a more serious note, I figured I'd start a little bit light.
You got it.
Not to go totally current, but like, how do y'all see coronavirus ending? Like how the world handles it. You know, like what are people doing, or what changes, or in the future, what changes permanently, what goes back to normal? What do y'all think?
All right, so I actually had this conversation yesterday. Yesterday.
Good. So you queued up. Go ahead.
So part one, what actually happens to coronavirus, I think it turns into the flu. In the sense where it doesn't go away, but what happens is if you catch it, you can go to the doctor, go to the hospital, whatever. They test you to say, hey, you've got the flu, or hey, you've got coronavirus. So they, prescribe you whatever medicine is that you need to take. You'll probably have to stay home. You'll be, bedridden for a couple of days because
probably
you'll be in pain. But as long as you take the medicine, like, you'll be good. Like you'll be less likely to die from it and stuff like that. And then, so that's what I think what happened to coronavirus. It's basically just going to be another flu type deal.
Right.
Now, when it comes to like businesses and stuff like that, I really don't think anything goes back to normal.
Normal
because now we're so used to what's going on. Like now, like it's going to be kind of weird. Just even seeing people out walking around with like no mask on and stuff like that. Like I still think masks will be a part of the situation. And even moving forward, if you feel sick or anything like that, boom,
you have to
like let me put a mask on.
It's gonna be like China.
Right. So that's one thing. Now entertainment type businesses, I think they're the main ones and maybe one of the only ones that can go back to kind of like normal. So like all like movie sets, the clubs, bars, stuff like that, just because of the atmosphere that they have. So like people are gonna because people have been flocking to them even during Corona.
Now, doing it now.
Right now, every other business after that, I think the major changes is gonna have to happen. And if it hasn't happened now, you better make this change now before your business, fails. But you gotta have some type of online service with your business. You need to be able to operate online, have people, contact you, get your product, whatever. As long as you're in a business that can do it. Now, obviously, a spa, no one can do a virtual spa. So
no.
But if you're a product-based company, you've got to have some type of online service attached to your business.
And you have to, and you probably should have had that already.
Right.
And again, you make some good points there about what the new normal is going to be, and as far as masks, and if you're sick, again, just like they do in China, if you're sick or you feel sick or you wear a mask. The times before where people would have looked at you weird, now it's just going to be normal. Now it's going to be like, oh, he's probably sick or whatever the case may be. But once we have a vaccine, we get to a point where we have a vaccine. Again, it'll be very flu-like, right? In that fashion where even now, like when you get the flu, like the flu, influenza, like you're home for, like you have it full blown, you're down and out for a few days, like
Right.
no question, like not like symptoms, but if you have the full blown flu, you're down and out for a few days. This will be very similar to that, where you have to go get your vaccine, whatever the case may be. With the flu, you don't necessarily have to do anything about it except just go home and rest. If you don't want to, that's on you. But with this, going forward, you're gonna have to go get a vaccine or whatever the case may be, and then rest up, and before you resume your activities, back to work, whatever the case may be, school, whatever. Um, things will, again, that'll be that new normal. Businesses, like you said, will have to open. I feel like COVID just expedited things that were in motion, right? Digital, only stuff, where you look at food delivery, where they had contactless stuff. That's stuff that we were kind of getting there, but COVID just, we were moving slow. COVID was just like, yo, let's just expedite this. Like we're dragging our feet with a lot of things. They'll just expedite this. Contactless, just leave it at the door. The person doesn't have to open the door. Leave it at the door. It's here. You walk away. I'll open the door and I'll get it. Like, okay, bam, that's a given, right? That's easy. The delivery online, services for your
all
products.
those people that were too afraid to use services like Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Now you
have to expedite it. Let's say everything should have been doing that already. Like all these places are still doing like cash, and we're using cash for all these things. It's kind of like, you don't have to. I'm still like amazed at how many people are like, for a time of our generation of species, cash was king. But we've gotten to a point where that was a thing because you didn't want to be in debt, right? You didn't want to have credit debt and all of that stuff. And that's cool. And that's still true. But you use your debit card, that's cash. That's coming straight from your bank account. That's the same as that's the same if you took money out of your bank account and gave it to somebody by hand. It's the same thing. Debit card is cash. It ain't credit. You know what I'm saying? So Cash App is the same thing. You transfer money from your bank account into Cash App, or like I said, Zelle. Zelle has partnerships with a lot of banks. Bank of America uses, Zelle, like Venmo and stuff. Cash App is probably still the most popular thing right now, of those services. But it's like, especially like you go to places where were notorious for cash was the only thing you could use. Like, for example, the barbershop, right? All barbers should be using Cash App. I don't say, like, when you sit down to get your cut, that should be like, okay, this is how much the cut's going to be. You Cash App your barber, or before or after, or whatever the case may be.
What's those square?
Square, right? That should all be second nature at this point, right? Because just like before, what have you sit down, you get your cut, you finish, your cut's looking good. They show it to you. They give you the mirror, cool, everything good. You exchange cash. Why are we just not exchanging that cash to the Cash App? Like, that's just hey, you go to a salon, you get your hair done, you get your nail, like Cash App. We should be Cash App, or like you said, Square, swipe. This whole, like, cash is, and that's one of those things that
they got the chip sensor now too for Square.
Yeah, they do. So
just
again,
you ain't gonna press nothing, no buttons or nothing like that. You just take your card back. Nobody got nothing.
Facts, no excuses. Why we're still like, because cash is a huge component of transmitting disease and shit like that. Dirty money is like, it's crazy. Like, we should be less doing that. And again, as our generation, in our group here, we got a couple of different time gaps, but me, C, and maybe Devin specifically, as our generation gears up to be the older generation, that's when things will really turn over, because our generation is the paperless generation. We're paperless. We're about debit cards. We're about, we don't really use cash like that. So once our generation becomes the older generation, that's when you'll see the big influx of like, okay, people's not using cash anymore. People are not getting bills shipped to their house anymore. Like, that's just not a thing. We don't do that. We want as least amount of paper as possible.
So you feel like that process has gotten accelerated because of this?
Oh,
Absolutely.
most definitely.
Absolutely. And I feel like for the better. It's crazy because with every travesty, with everything every negative comes a positive, right? So there's always silver lining for everything. And the silver lining for this is, again, the expedited process of things like contactless delivery, things like people using more Cash App, more debit, less cash, because too much cash passing hands is that's just problems. Okay, there's too many problems with that. It's like, especially if you exchanging cash with somebody, you don't know what, at this point, this has now changed our thinking forever. This should have been our thinking before. But again, COVID has now changed our thinking forever, because you don't know that person you're exchanging with. You don't know what they have that could be transmitted to you through that exchange, right? Before, you never worried about it because, like, oh, what's the worst that can happen? I catch a cold, I get the flu, whatever. Okay, fine. What's the worst that can happen now? You could die. Okay. Okay. So now that's changed everybody's thought process, where it's like, okay, we need to rethink a lot of this stuff. My biggest thing that I think about when it's in terms of what changes kind of going forward, I'm thinking about, I know Dre mentioned, big entertainment venues, and I'm like, I don't see how those things go back to what was normal before. I just don't. And for the foreseeable future, I feel like there's a space where maybe, but it's like occupancy might have to change on that stuff. Like, you can't have people crammed into like a club shoulder to shoulder like that, because you got to think twice about things like that now.
Well, yeah, so that's the thing. That's when it kind of becomes a morality type deal also, because the owner of the club, like, he's gonna look at like, all right, normally, and I'm just trying to throw a number out there, it's been a while, but the club can fit like 200 people. He's gonna be like, all right, the club can fit 200. I'm gonna try and get 215 in here. But then now what's he gonna do? He's gonna be like, but maybe I should only do 100 or 150, like stuff like
they
that.
Might have to jack up the price on admission,
right? And then price is gonna go up and stuff like that. And then the thing is, if they try to do that, try to lower the number, but the club down the street is like, oh, but we can fit 300 people. Now you're in competition with that. One reason why I think it's gonna be hard for entertainment is because it's the one industry where we as consumers, like, we all need each other. Like, the entertainment industry needs us, and we need the entertainment industry, which is very weird. So like one of my friends, like, she had all her concerts planned out for 2020, and she was hot upset about COVID because she had to cancel and not go to her concerts, and some of them she didn't even get her money back from. So when when those big festivals like Coachella and all the big music festivals, when they come back, I think it's going to be harder for younger people to be like, oh, I'm not going. Like, I think the younger people are going to be like, oh, I'm definitely going. This is Coachella coming back. This is their back from COVID, festival party, whatever. So that's why I think it's going to be harder for them to to them to change, kind of. Now, like, TV sets and movie sets, stuff like that, it'll be easier for them because that's controlled.
Yeah, those are because you can control that. And I think, and we had talked about movie theaters and stuff like that over different podcasts over time.
Yeah, just send me everything on Apple TV and I'll be fine.
That's the thing. Like, give me, and Disney is releasing Mulan, which was scheduled to be their biggest property for this year, theater wise. They expected to make a lot of money off of that, so they releasing Mulan on Disney Plus for $30, right? So obviously, on top of, if you have to have a Disney Plus subscription, and then you pay the $30, and then you own that as long as you have the service, and that's their biggest property for this year. So I think they're really setting the table for what could be kind of not a regular thing. Look, if theaters died out as a result of this, I'm not going to be mad, because if you tell me, like, on whatever service I can get Tenet for $30, yeah, I'm going to buy that. Because even you look at something like Mulan for $30, if you got a family, That's way cheaper than if you took your family to go see Mulan at the movie theater.
Yep.
And you own it, and you can watch it whenever still. So to me, that's gonna be a tough sell to say, like, for me to say that movie theaters should continue to function as they have functioned and still be a thing. Because I don't really, for my money, and I've said this before, just let me buy it. I'll buy it, sure. Especially if it's a director or a company or whatever that I really mess with, like Tenet, again, like Christopher Nolan. That's my ace one favorite director. So I would absolutely buy his movie so I could stream it at home and watch it whenever it drops. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I would go, just for the support and just because I want to see the movie. Like, but I could do without going to the theater. Like, theaters, like, it, you know, a lot of actors, actresses, like, they get, you know, residual on these movie. The part of the money they make on the movie is how much theater sales is on the, okay, but really, I think we could find a way to restructure those contracts that these actors, actresses have when they sign on to do a movie, where obviously that wouldn't be included anymore. I mean, how much money is that really eating into the big time performers, you know, cut of the of the proceeds? Like, yeah,
It's not like going. It's not like going to like a live sports event or something.
no,
It's not like going to a concert. It's like going to somebody else's house and watching TV.
right. And they're charging you to watch it, and they're charging you like, yo, you want a drink too? You want something to eat too? Yeah,
way more than everybody else.
come up off that.
For candy and food and for drinks.
Right. And theaters, like I said, they made these deal with movie companies, and you know, they live good. They eat good because people come, and they don't make money off of tickets. We know that. We've been known that. They make money off of concessions. You know, they want you to get in there and get them concessions. They don't care. Theaters, you know what I'm saying? Theaters hate customers like me, because I'm not there for concessions. I'm there to go see your movie for $6 at a matinee. I'm not buying concessions. I'm bringing candy in my bag, in my pocket.
I try to take my son. My son is like, "Oh, mom's got to go with us," and then we got two other ones. So now everybody's in the car. And then we get there, and my son's like, "I want some popcorn," and you know, she's like, "Go ahead and buy everybody popcorn because we gotta have popcorn." I'm like, "Yeah, we gotta have popcorn. You gotta have something to eat, so let's buy." You know, I mean, you gotta have something to drink, so let's get some sodas. But he backwashed, so he gonna get his own.
Ugh.
So talking about the little one.
Yeah. Oh well, of course.
And you know what I'm saying. So you hitting the pocket for $70-$80.
Yo, yeah, you take a family out. Now, how much?
The movie's gonna be $30.
$30, and you can stay home and watch it in full HD.
Yeah.
You're not watching a bootleg copy. You're watching the official, you know, copy of the movie. Like, no bootleg joint. And nothing you had to illegally acquire. $30, you're gonna get it. Boom, right there. Let me get that. Honestly, that's one of my big things. Like, can I get that? Thank you, COVID, for that. But another thing is, again, we talked about this before, is schools. What is, because now where I'm at, like, in Frederick, in Maryland, Frederick County, they are not going back to school at all. It's virtual, 100%, all of it, for the first semester at least, which to me is like, okay, it's not going to be just the first semester. Let's be real. Like, you're not going to have this figured out in 12 weeks. Like, let's like, we being honest, like, it's going to be the whole year. So now that means somebody's got to be home, right? So somebody's got to be home.
Is there a virtual option?
Because no, that's what it is. It's virtual. It's all virtual now.
Okay. I thought you meant like going back to class. I was like,
no, it's 100% virtual in this county here, and nobody's going back to physical school right now, and they're gonna have to log in. You know, obviously we'll get more information as we get close to the year, registration, but they gotta log, they'll have to log in, and it's X amount of hours a day. It's like 5 hours or whatever the case may be. And it's just like, so now we got, 2 kids in here that have to do that. But when it's 12 and 6 and they're boys who've been used to going to school and being in a structured environment where they're going there, now you have to keep them focused at home on their task and on this new virtual thing. So it's like, that's a challenge. And then now that's definitive. So even though different states and different counties have their different mandates depending on the different school districts and what their school boards decide, you have a lot of these school boards that are like, no, nobody's going back to school physically, so it's virtual. So now you're asking so if it's 2 parents in the home, you're asking one of them to stay home indefinitely. There's no 2 ways around that, right? So unless, there's just no 2 ways around that. Or what do you do if you're a single parent that has no like help, like, right? That you're like, because a lot of people don't have their parents to rely on for that, or family to rely on for that. But that's something you would have to ask somebody to do every day. You're a single parent. What do you do? Like, where does that leave you? Like, I can't even like.
You can't hire a babysitter because nobody can come by because of the virus.
Right. Especially now, it's like, even if you were somebody that used, like a babysitter or whatever the case may be, are you really going to ask somebody to come and like, but then you'd have to be paying for that every single day.
Yeah. And if you already had a babysitter and now you're asking them to do that, I wouldn't be surprised if they even asked for more than what you were already, already giving them.
Absolutely. I don't know what the good resolution is for that. And granted,
I think I know it sucks for you because you still have to go, like with your job, you don't telework, like you still have to go out.
Still gotta go, right?
So for people like that, like if they all have to go out there, I think those are the ones that no one's truly figuring out like what's and granted, virtual is the way that it needs to go for schooling right now because what's going on.
I agree.
There's a way that we need to go about it to, at least aid the parents, help the parents out, that still have to go to work, because obviously the ones that and even the parents that telework, like granted, yes, you're in the home at least with the kid, but you're working. So you can be there for your kid, but you can't be there at every single moment for your kid because you might have a meeting or you've got something that you got to do, like you've got your own job that you got to do. So I think there's stuff that everyone's gonna have to go through, and I think it sucks even more for the younger kids because once you're in middle school, high school, like it's
just get the assignment done, just get the work done.
Yeah,
you're doing it digital.
When you're done with school, you can find ways to entertain yourself and stuff like that.
Right.
Like little kids, once they're done, like they wanna come see you. They want to play with you. They want to see what you got going on. Hey dad, what you doing? Or hey mom, what you doing?
Yeah.
Like they're bugging you, and it's not that they're bugging you on purpose. They're just they just want to have something to do.
Correct.
So that's that's the hurdle that's gonna have to kind of happen. I think this is gonna be different than February, March when all this happened, because like when that happened, everyone got sent home. Like everyone go home, and then we'll figure it out from there. Like now, we're kind of trying to do home and virtual, so this is gonna be a whole nother ball game.
It's a mess
for people to try and deal with.
It's a mess, and they don't have a proper plan in place on a whole scale. It's just like, let's just figure this out as we go along, and there isn't a plan for everybody. Like I said, it isn't a plan for those families and those parents that have to stay home and whatever the case may be. There's no good relief set up. Like it's just there, it's going to be very interesting how things go from here. I just don't know. Like what the next, because we're talking, we're in August now. So, you are muted. See, by the way. There you go. Yeah, like I don't like, because really we're not going to see any drastic change in anything. In my opinion, we're like anywhere from the next 8 to 12 months from now, like until things start to see a shift towards.
And I don't think a shift at all is going to happen until we get a confirmed vaccine.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
And then, but that's just going to be the start because everybody's
Yeah.
going to be too afraid to be the first ones to get the vaccine. So then once the guinea pigs get the first vaccine, and we figure out, what all the symptoms, what all the side effects, all that kind of stuff are. Does it work? Does it not work? And then the true vaccine rolls out for the second wave. That's when we'll start to see the ball rolling in society, moving to a new norm. Because right now we're in a quarantine norm. Like we don't want to be where we are, but we have to be where we are.
Right.
So this new norm is what we're all.
I'm gonna need the government to come up off some more money. They have to find something, come to some agreement, whatever they got to do. Something's got to give somewhere.
Didn't Trump signed some executive order saying
they just passed something yesterday.
I mean, he signed
instead of $600, you get $400.
He signed 4 executive orders. One of them was an eviction option thing. One of them was
student loans.
The eviction moratorium.
Yeah, one of them was. Yeah, one of them was the payroll tax. One of them was the student loan repayment, and the other one was the stimulus. But it's like, even still, like he did that, but nothing. That doesn't mean anything can happen yet.
What's an executive order?
Huh?
It's an executive order. So
it is.
They can repeal it, but.
Which they might.
I would think
whoever repeals it will look bad on them.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. So
that's true because
he kind of put the ball in the Democrats' court.
He definitely did because it's so crazy to me that with everything that was on the table that the two parties agreed upon, that the Democrats was one of the things that they were so hesitant on was the unemployment thing. And I'm like, how did y'all mess that up? Because how were the Republicans like, yes, people should keep getting unemployment, and Democrats were like, nah, that's too much though. Like, what do you mean it's too much? Like,
nah, that's not what happened.
Well, I mean, it's partially what it was. That wasn't the whole story, but that's part of the story.
Now what they were saying was the Republicans wanted to reduce the amount of unemployment to like $100 or $200.
$200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh yeah, well, it's going to give people an incentive to go back to work." And it's like maybe the problem is that people are celebrating getting an extra $600 on their check, and they're getting paid more than they would normally get paid.
A lot of people were.
I mean, 600 because you got to remember that's the 600 that the federal was giving them on top of the employment they were getting from their state.
There's a lot of people that were getting that 600,
even
they were still getting under 1,000.
Yeah, because 600 by itself a week, that's.
If you did, I think I did the math. If you did 600 and you got it for an entire year, so all 52 weeks, I think it's like $31,200. Just $600.
That's what most people are getting to go to work, and a lot of people getting less than that.
That's a problem.
That's a lot. I ain't gonna tell you, that's a lot. So
and that's before whatever you were getting for unemployment
from your state, right? So they were getting the state unemployment plus that 600. I'm like, it might be a bit excessive.
I mean, I'd be a little hesitant going back to work too. Now, granted, I mean,
of course,
I don't like sitting at home, and the quarantine was all cool in the beginning, and then after a while, I was like, man, I need to find something to do.
Look, man, we could have switched places. I got plenty of games on backlog, and I need to go through.
Things to do. I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna take you my address.
People, they're just like, oh, and that's just one person. Now I don't know how it was with if you were in like a two-person household, stuff like that. But think if it was, each person was getting 600. If both
divorce rate went up this year.
Like, if roommate central be like, yo, man, I'm pulling in 31,200. You're pulling in 31,200 plus whatever we're getting from unemployment. Like,
like I said, something's got to get figured out, and something's got to be definitive. Because like I said, there's too many districts, too many counties, too many school districts that are just like, okay, nobody's going back to school physically, which is the right thing ultimately, because now we see only what was the county in Georgia?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Wrong. Doing it wrong. See,
I think it's over 100 faculty, staff,
it's 200,
and
like
students.
2 something. Yeah, 200 something between faculty and students in that county. Is like, oh, come on. Y'all had to know this was a terrible idea.
For me, man, and it's insane that on top of that, the student who actually took the photo of what happened got suspended. As well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing.
Because
I like it sucks because I think it was a girl that took the photo and posted it.
But the actual school, the rule is
right. Like there was a rule
have nothing
that
to do
said
with
that, you can't record or take photos of things like that within the school without permission, stuff like that. So based on the rule, but she was doing it for a right cause. Like in a sense, like look what's going on. So it's one of those like
yeah. I mean, she was a martyr, so good. I mean, it is what it is. I don't think she was probably gonna have to go home anyway, because there's no way it wasn't shutting that school down. Come on. So getting suspended is like, that's a wash.
Everybody right now who's just trying to lick this thing is because they're not understanding the severity of the situation.
Right. Because and
I've had conversations with people who are like, well, let's just let everybody get it, and then they'll build an immunity. And it's like, yo, that's not how the virus works.
That is
not how that works.
Virus is different. Like you can get it 2-3 times and have 2-3 different viruses.
Yes, exactly. Like, people don't get this. Isn't chicken pox. All right,
there's a lot of strains. It's like,
because that's the thing. Like coronavirus has always been around. Well, I won't say always, but it's been around for a while. It's just that this specific strain, this COVID-19, like this is a specific strain that everyone's like, oh my gosh, we don't know.
It's just highly contagious.
Right.
Yeah, and there's too many people focused on, let's just get back. Let's just get everything back to normal. Let's get back to normal. Like normal is.
It's like lives are more important than the economy, and this is when. This is a time when, you're listening to people talk about what's going on right now, and you can see the things that they truly value when you listen to people talk. And some people are like, let's just get back to and it's just like, and some people are like, yo, everybody just chill for a little bit. Like literally, if everybody in the country, and this is somebody that said this, if everyone in this country wore their mask for 3 weeks straight, we would not have coronavirus anymore.
Yeah, bro. Like, if people
we gotta follow New Zealand. They've gone 100 straight days without a single.
If people just collectively,
and these people, when all of this was going down, and then they started shutting things down, like when it happened in sport, when Rudy Gobert got sick.
Oh God,
man, I'm talking about. I was reading about in Haiti, and in Haiti, what they were doing was people were getting tested coming off of the planes. Like they were just like. Yeah. We're not letting this, and we'll send your ass back.
Right. Sorry, fella, awful.
Sorry. I'm gonna turn you around and send you right back.
And I think that's the only thing.
That's the smartest thing people could have been doing, and we just weren't doing that.
The only thing I miss is travel. Like that's it. Like the freedom of travel.
I traveled. Yeah, I guess the freedom, sure.
But outside,
I ain't got nowhere to go anyway.
Right. Like right now, I'm just like, all right, I can't travel. Like. It is what it is. Like I've never been a big person to want to go to the bars or clubs and all kind of stuff. So
that was me neither. Good.
I can't.
Go miss that.
The last time I went to a concert was 2013.
Spoiler alert! I've never been to a concert.
Wow.
Unless you count
2016 was the last time.
Unless you count Trinidad like festivals and fetes and masses and stuff like that, but like a concert like R&B concert, like rap concerts, and I've never been to one.
Yeah,
ever.
So, shoot, to piggyback off of that, what is the first thing you're gonna do when you're allowed to do it again, and without worry for your safety?
Movies.
I'm flying
Tenet.
somewhere.
Movies, and I don't even. And again, and that's only because that's the only thing that I did like that. And I said it before. I don't mess with movies like that. I could do without the theaters, but of the things that aren't functioning in that capacity right now, that's kind of the only thing that like I said, I didn't go to like clubs. I didn't go out to like bars like that. I didn't go, to these other places. I didn't really do a lot of flying like that. Like movies was the most, and even though I wasn't always going, it was still the most consistent thing that I was doing, maybe a few times a year or a handful of times a year. I would go to the movie theater. So really, movies. I was just like, just go up and go see a movie. Like, I mean, just cause. But otherwise, I don't really. None of the other stuff I miss. So like for me, it's just like, yeah.
And I think what's gonna be weird when everything goes back to normal, because like my job is it's at half capacity in terms of the amount of people in the building. So I've never dealt with it, never been in the building, because I got the job during COVID. So I've never witnessed the building or my job at 100% capacity.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird.
So I think that's gonna be,
And
that's not something that I'm looking forward to, or that's not something that
of course
the first time I do, but that's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, because like people that weren't working there because they were high risk, stuff like that, now they're coming back to the building, stuff like that. So it's almost like I'm gonna be the new guy, like all over.
Yeah, and that's another thing. A lot of jobs that have learned through this that they can function at majority capacity, remotely. Their setting might change. They might not have people in their building as much as they did before because they're like, you know what? We made it through for 6, 7, 8, 9 months okay with nobody here. Everybody working remotely. So why do we need to bring everybody back all the time? Maybe you can like tier people in the office. Maybe it's like, okay, this group of people are here 2 to 3 days a week. And flip it, and then this other group of people is here 2, 3 days, and the other 2, 3 days a week you work from home.
And people might actually be happier with that. Like, the morale for jobs will probably go up.
Of course,
people don't mind their job. I think what it is, people don't. At least I'll
speak for yourself.
So for me, my problem is when I've been at jobs, I don't like. I always feel like eyes are always on me. Like if I look over and look at my phone for something, or if it seems like my attention is away for a moment, like someone's like, oh, well, why aren't you focused on your work? It's like, I am focused on my work, but no one's focused on, this contract or whatever for 8, 9 straight hours.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes I want to listen to music while I'm doing, like, I
can see that's
work while I'm listening to music.
That's where I'm appreciative of my profession at the moment, because being a mail carrier, you're in the office for 2-3 hours at the most, and then the rest of the time you're working, you're out on the street you're managing yourself on the street. Like, so you get so much time to catch up on whatever you need to do, listen to podcasts, whatever you got to do, like while you're delivering this mail. Like, it's low key kind of great actually, because you say like, out of your how many hours a day like you're spending that managing yourself. It's kind of great actually, but
so I'd be fine if actually more jobs move to staying with telework. And maybe, and I completely understand if they don't want you to be 100% telework.
Sure.
But if they want to, like you said, like, hey, like if you can come into the office 2-3 days out of the week.
Yeah, just have people like on off. Half the office this days, half the other half these days.
And really,
it's
those
like,
days that you're at the office, it's mainly just because those are the days we're gonna have, our important meetings, our major meetings,
sure,
stuff like that. If that's
and even we've learned nowadays, like we could do these meetings like this. Like, do we really need to do meetings the way we used to do meetings?
Need as many meetings as
like,
we've been having.
Like we got Zoom, we got Microsoft thing, Google's got a thing. Come on. We don't need to group 50, 60, 120 people in a room, an office, or an auditorium or whatever, and have these meetings. Like it's
a time waster.
It's a time waster. People could do this just like this with the same effectiveness, because it's like it's there. The technology is there. This is not something that was feasible 30 years ago. 30 years ago,
about 10 years ago.
Yeah, but
still might not have been feasible.
Right. But if this would have happened like 30 years ago,
man. done. People be killing each other,
Bro.
each other in the streets. Like it'd be freaking mayhem. But everybody's able to access so much information so quickly. You know, everybody's getting steady, you know, consistent updates on what's going on, and you know, it helps people in managing their sanity because everybody's just looking for the light at the end of the tunnel right now.
Yeah, and but that's where people shouldn't be doing. Because the problem is too many people are looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. Like the light at the end of the tunnel is not like the light that you remember when you walked into the tunnel.
Right.
So people are forgetting that, and it's a lot of these red states. If we're being honest, these red states are the people where you see these people having these trouble with the people wearing masks. Bet you it's a red state, okay, or a red area. All right.
I just can't believe how we made the aspect of wearing a mask so political.
Because they always do that.
And I'll tell you this is what I feel like is going to end up being the new normal. Now that you bring up masks, I wanted to make this point. It was that someone is going to develop a mask using a thinner, more breathable fiber.
And now that you say that,
it's going to become the next great invention where you can have some normalcy to be able to show your face again, even if you're wearing a mask.
Yo, so I think I saw an ad for an Asics face mask that they promoted that you could drink through it because it's Asics. It's like a runner design face mask.
It's like mesh or something.
Yeah, they said you can drink water through it. It's like, what? Wait, I gotta. Is this it right here?
Just don't drink fruit punch through it.
Oh my God! And you already know, and you already know the folks that's
that Gatorade or something. Somebody gonna.
Here you go, right here. Hold
on. A little red spot on the mask.
Oh my goodness!
But I think that's gonna be what the next step is, and I think that there's not gonna be a feasible vaccine per se for maybe another 2-3 years, man.
You're probably right. So this is the Asics.
I don't think anyone is as close as we think they are. Like, oh yeah, a few more months. Like everybody keeps thinking. Everybody's right now. You can kind of tell the climate. Like a lot of people are expecting, like by the spring they should be kind of starting to get some normalcy.
Everyone's expecting that once December is done, we move into 2021. Like Reese said, you know, last podcast, like a flip is gonna switch and everything's gonna just like reset or go back to what it was before.
And it's like it's gonna be like this for
I'm getting one of these. Yeah, like because that's not how it's gonna go. And too many people are focused.
Sure people are prepared for that.
Too many people
thinking like, oh, we're on the tail end of it, and it's like we're not. Like this is the beginning. The second wave is the beginning.
Yeah.
We could be on the tail end if everyone had worn the mask and if we had done the quarantine the correct
way. From the very beginning.
Just put on your mask. Stay at home if you can. Don't be out just doing extra shit. Like just go to your job, run your errands, and go back home.
Correct. And the improper handling of this from the onset is America's president's fault. Because if Obama was still president, I can guarantee you at the beginning of this, at the very least, I can't say how it wouldn't have gone down like that in the beginning. There's no way it would have gone down like that because he would have been way more serious about this from the beginning.
Yep. Wouldn't even had this problem.
No, because now,
not no August.
Right? No way. By the time maybe midsummer, we'd have been like, okay. We're starting to see things kind of flattening out or evening down because people are, he wouldn't have flipped that switch where it was like, okay, governors, you do what you want to do just so you can take the heat off me. Like, no.
Right.
Like, man, I don't know. I just know that we still got a ways to go. And too many people are like, oh, well, let's. Too many people
understand how difficult it is to develop a vaccine for a virus.
Yo, people are like, oh,
we don't even truly understand.
No, vaccine, like that's like a 5 to 10 year process, man. Like
a lot of people have to die to find cures for these things.
yeah, the fact that we're even gotten to this point where they're even talking about the stages that they're in for this vaccine, or doing the research to figure it out, is way expedited. Than like we're in the early stages of like a normal vaccine. They'd have just been starting to gather information. Like, well, let's just start figuring some things out, some X's and Y's here about how this virus goes. Like they have to. This has to be a super fast process. They're just like, it takes time. This usually takes.
Have y'all seen the map of how many countries Americans are not allowed into at this point?
Yeah, I think isn't it only like 3 countries we are allowed into?
That's correct, sir. It's something like that. Like maybe like somewhere between 3 and like I don't know, 28. Nah, well, probably between like 3 and 10 countries. And same.
It
like
is.
we're gonna be one of the last countries to get rid of this thing.
Here's the vaccine update. So 165 vaccines. Hang on. Okay, 165 vaccines are in develop for coronavirus. 29 of them are now in the human trial phase.
That's fast.
Now, the way that vaccines are supposed to go, phase 1, vaccines tested for safety and dosage. Phase 2, vaccines expanded in the safety trial. Phase 3, vaccines in a large-scale efficacy test, and then the approval of a vaccine. And right now, August 6th is the latest. So a Taiwan-based company and an India-based company. No, a Taiwan-based company has entered phase 1. An India-based company has completed phase 1. Now, on July 27th, Moderna, I guess that's the name of it, and the NIH, they have entered phase 3.
Like I said, that's fast.
But the thing about it is, so phase 3, scientists give the vaccine to thousands of people and wait to see how many people become infected. Compared with volunteers who receive the placebo, these trials can determine if the vaccine protects against the coronavirus. In June, the FDA said that a coronavirus vaccine would have to protect at least 50% of vaccinated people to be considered effective.
What?
Man.
What? Bro. See, the whole thing is,
we got such a ways to go on this.
People, I'm so frustrated with this.
Everybody is.
We didn't need to go through all of this.
No, we didn't. Not this way, at least. Not for this long, not in this fashion. But again, it was handled poorly at the top, and a lot of Americans are stubborn and just stupid and uneducated.
I'll tell y'all this.
And uninformed.
A lot of what we were talking about earlier, y'all basically describing what my life has been like the last couple of years. Because we already homeschool.
Yeah.
And my wife is home. And, a lot of things become very difficult when, we're in phases of being able to move out and about. So the way we specifically homeschool our oldest, who's 11, is we like him to have real life experiences.
Okay.
So that means, when I go handle my business and go do things and I'm out and about, he's with me. Or when I get home, when I get home sometimes, I'll tell him about my day. He asked me, like, how was your day today? And I basically will sit down and I'll talk to him about what my day was like. And when he's out with me or when he's out with his mother, he's interacting with adults all day. And so, he's learning how to interact with other adults. Whereas, a lot of children out there are just learning how to interact with peers.
Right.
These two totally different things because, you spend the majority of your life interacting with other adults. So to be able to learn that. So we kind of put a priority on him continuing to be able to do that. So because that's part of his education system, now with coronavirus out, and the dangers of being out and about and interacting with other people and social distancing being in effect, it kind of takes away a part of his learning experience that he intended on being one of the stronger parts of his experiences as a child. So now we have to find ways for him to be able to interact. So now, I've kind of started taking him out with me again to certain places, and I'll have him put on a mask and he walks with me. And, he's a lot more nervous than I am because he's a child, and I understand this. I understand what's happening to society as a whole a little bit more,
Right.
And so he asks me questions, and sometimes I don't have answers for him. I just tell him, everybody's got to wear their mask.
Yeah, it's true.
He asked. I brought him to Target. I want to say last week or the week before, and there were a lot of people not wearing their masks.
Really? It's weird. Because in Target's over here, like you can't even get in. And, like there's people there's somebody at the door. Like you can't even get in if you're not wearing a mask.
This was like that weekend. All of that started taking effect.
Oh, okay.
And so he was like, "That person's not wearing a mask," out loud. Like he has no button. Like
of course not.
He's like, "They're not wearing a mask," and I'm like, "Yeah." And then so, in order to not make it where it's a direct interaction, now I have to play the part where I get super shady in front of the person so that they're kind of shamed into, hey, next time you come to the store, you might want to throw on a mask. So I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, you don't get into people's business because just because wearing your mask is the smart thing to do, that doesn't mean that's what everybody else is doing out here. And I asked them, and there's people, I'm walking past people not wearing a mask, and I'm like, do you know what a cult is? He's like, no, I don't know what a cult is. I said, well, generally a cult is a group of people who come together, gathered around a very specific idea, and a lot of the reason of why it's called a cult is because a lot of these situations end very poorly. Sometimes these endings, people go missing, people die, bad things happen to people who are involved in cult. And what we have right now is what's called a cult following, where basically nobody's going to a specific place, but people are taking specific action right now because they're all gathered around a similar idea. And right now, it's that the coronavirus is not real. That's the bad idea. And I feel bad because I'm explaining this to an 11-year-old. Like, there's so much that he doesn't understand yet. So to have to put the weight of this on him, and I'm explaining, like, even if you're not infected, wearing your mask tells you, one, it protects you from other people, but two, it tells your neighbors, hey, I have respect for you, your time, and your health. And I'm walking through the store with people not wearing masks saying this. And I'm telling them, the mask says that, you're telling your neighbor, hey, I care about you, your time, and your health. And I'm being considerate to you and your health and making sure that we're not infecting each other. That's really what wearing your mask is saying. It's a public statement now. And in my opinion, not wearing a mask right now says I'm only worried about myself, and I'm not worried about those who are around me, especially children or the elderly.
Yep.
I'm just going to do what I want to do, and nobody can tell me what to do.
Yeah, usually.
And I explained that to him, and I said, some people like that. Some people are very selfish, and some people just do not care about the world that's going on around them. They only care about their own space. But just because people are doing things that are ignorant, that doesn't mean you have to do them as well, correct? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, all right then. So just leave people alone. Let them not wear their mask. You got your mask on, you're safe.
Yeah. True.
And you see the looks I'm getting in this store.
It's great.
What are you gonna talk trash to me in the store in front of my kid? And we supposed to be social distancing.
Right. People are ignorant. That's not gonna change. And that's something that
sometimes that's the only thing you can do to fight this is to just, try to shame people out of doing things that are ignorant in order to serve the greater good. And the greater good now is getting this thing lit.
Yeah, people don't care about that.
No.
They don't care because they want things to go back to normal, and they don't like, oh, wearing a mask doesn't do anything, and blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. Like,
yeah. I thought that was a little bit heavy.
I just can't because people are ignorant, and I don't have time for ignorance.
What a way to start off the podcast.
Yeah. Well, basically, wear your mask. We don't have time for your ignorance.
Right.
You know, just wear your mask if you're gonna be around people. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, I mean, I'm driving a car by myself. Obviously, I'm not wearing a mask. It's not necessary. But like, you get out to a public setting, you go into a store, or whatever the case may be. Obviously, also stores are mandated to wear masks, but you know, you have the people that are like, well, it's not a law, and this, that, and the other, and this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, shut the hell up. Like, go somewhere stay home. People like you, just stay home. Because we don't want to interact with you just because you're ignorant. You know, time for your ignorance. Like, it's like, ignorance is one of those things I just can't stand. I just can't stand ignorance. It drives me up a wall. Can't. People suck.
Let me ask y'all this to switch gears a little bit. So now that we have this going on, we're spending more time in our homes, you know, overall. So to ask, you know, have y'all added anything to your homes to kind of make things a little bit more convenient as far as like smart devices inside of the home? Have y'all added anything?
Let me think. No, I mean, the stuff we got is pretty much the same as I like. You know, being already a tech savvy person, we've had the stuff that we've had, like, as it is already. You know, Alexas and
whatever the level of intelligence my home was before COVID, it is that same level of intelligence right now. Because I've been trying to save money. Just with not knowing what's going on, I've been trying to save money as much as possible. So yeah, I haven't had to buy anything like that because we were already pretty good going off with that. So
I'm just thankful that Amazon is functioning as it is normally again. You know, 2-day shipping, next day
Amazon.
shipping. Of all the businesses I needed to kind of go back to normal, it was Amazon, because, you know, you paying for that Amazon Prime. I'm gonna need my 2-day or 1-day shipping. I ain't gonna hold you. I got to, because what am I paying for?
It's gotten to the point. I got a little table I keep outside my front door now. I'm like,
well, yeah, a lot of people, and that's something else too. That's like, okay, you should be doing that, because if you get food delivery,
they're gonna lay it on the floor,
right?
Well, and see, we already had the table out there because we had like plants and stuff. So we just took the plant off the table, so it's just an empty table now. So
yeah, and that's a business that's skyrocketed, right? So it's like, it's funny because so many people were furloughed, so many people were laid off, but if you had a vehicle that you were comfortable enough driving often enough, I mean, you know, you could have gotten on that kick. It was a surge. Like, no matter what service it was, whether it was Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, like, there was, and still now, there was a boom on food delivery. Like,
yesterday,
people were at the peak. Well, not that we're not still in this, but at the peak of like the beginning of this, when everything was crazy, like, people were caking on food delivery. Like, like, they were like Uber Eats drivers making bank on food delivery, like, which, you know, that's the ebb and flow of things. And now that things have come down off of crazy, obviously crazy. The peak of crazy for all this was when you couldn't, like, stores were sold out of things. You couldn't buy gloves. You couldn't get masks. You couldn't get sanitizer. Okay. Yeah. So now that we've come down from that portion of it, and kind of plateaued in terms of that, I think that food deliveries are still going to be such a sustainable side income, or for some people, primary income, depending on where you are and what you're doing, whatever the case may be. But that's very viable. If you dedicate real job, full-time hours to doing that every week, you can earn a livable wage from just doing food deliveries. Like I earned a livable wage doing Lyft full-time most of 2019. So like, and that was just, just doing people delivery, if you will, or rideshare as we like to call it. But and so even doing that now, in my head, I'm like, I don't think I've signed up for several food deliveries and I've done one or two of them, but I haven't needed to really, obviously, because I'm working full time at the post office. So I didn't need to like really dive into that. But now with things going the way they are, with kids not going back to school and being in this new place, I'm going to have to kick back up on the food deliveries. But, I don't think I have any plans on driving for rideshare, like for Lyft or Uber anymore. Cause I'm like, for several reasons, because that was like, if you can earn the same type of income for just doing food delivery, why wouldn't I just do that as opposed to picking people up? People are so
having
much
them in
more
your car and touching all your stuff, talking
people
about can you plug me into the aux cord.
right. I'm gonna deal with and especially now people that they don't want to wear masks. Now, how many videos have we already seen with Uber and Lyft drivers getting into fights with people because they're not wearing a mask? You know what? I don't want the problems. I don't even want to have to have that situation arise where I see the person walk into my car and have a mask on. I'm like, this is gonna be a confrontation. Like, so it's like, you know what? Why should I even bother with that when I can earn the same money just doing food delivery? You don't have to worry about people being in your car. You're like, here's your food. You drop it off at you don't got to interact with the person you're dropping the food off to anymore. You just leave it in front of their door and walk away. Like, so it's like, just do that.
How lit is that right now?
That's fire. Like, that's great. Just do that. Like, you pick their food up, drop it off at their door, and walk away. You've just earned some money for that. Like, that's so much better than picking people up and driving them around. Because I did that for 8-9 months, whatever.
All those conversations. You have so many conversations during the day. You get home, you can work 3-4 hours. You get home, you're just drained.
Yeah.
Because you're just interacting with people every single day, all day. And it's like the only time you're not interacting with people is when you're not making any money.
Yeah.
And
that sucks.
Yeah.
Right. And with Lyft.
Sometimes someone gets in your car and they got headphones on and you're like, thank God.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. You're thankful for those people that just don't want to talk. Great.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna switch gears here. I'm gonna ask you guys a question. And we've kind of actually I don't think we've kind of talked about it, but see, you've posted about it.
Okay.
So question number one, and what is it? So I have two questions, maybe three, but definitely two questions. First, question number one, have you seen or at least listened to the song with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion?
WAP. I like it.
Yo.
All right, so I'm assuming that's a yes. So question number two, did you see Cardi's video about it? I think it was a Instagram.
Yeah, I posted that.
Post.
I posted
I did not.
Where she was basically talking about how like people come after her and Meg Thee Stallion and other female rappers that rap about sexual advances, rap about their pussies, all that kind of stuff. But those same people that come after them rapping about that, don't come after the male rappers that rap about the same stuff that everyone lauds out there, and number two, the people that come after them don't even try and uplift the female rappers that aren't even rapping anything about that. So I guess my question is, like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like female rappers are held to a higher standard than male rappers in the sense of the content that they should be rapping about? Or B, do you think that because it's just a female rapper that people are just, no matter what the content is, people are going to find a way to condemn it no matter what?
I think that we have formed a society where women are judged on all things vanity related,
Mhm.
the quote unquote patriarchy that we've established here in our society. And I think a big part of that, especially, goes against women of color, in the Black community, and especially within hip hop culture. It becomes so competitive. So when something new comes out, or when there's a lot of attention on something, a lot of us out here have this feeling like they're losing something because someone else is gaining attention in something. And a lot of us try to uphold this quote unquote code of morality of how we're supposed to be doing things and how we're supposed to live and the way we're supposed to carry ourselves. But the thing about hip hop music and hip hop and culture as just overall, the music and the culture itself has always been about representation. So in my opinion, and this is what I've had to learn, as a rapper myself and as an artist, is that within a culture and within a music genre that representation is what the key focus is, then if somebody likes something that's out there, then that means that song or that person or that album is representative of something, and that's hip hop. And the whole thing is you can't knock that. And like Cardi said, there's female rappers out there. And I said it in my post. I talked about Rhapsody, 3D Nati, Dynasty, Tokyo Jets, Jean Grey, and the list goes on. There's so much music out there. There's so many artists because everybody and their mother has access to a studio at this point. It's not $200 an hour anymore. All the studios aren't in New York, Miami, and LA anymore.
Right.
Everybody's got a studio. I bet there's 3-4 studios on the street I live on. You know what I mean? And everybody can on a late night, if you're in any neighborhood where there's more than 2 or 3 residences within reach, can stick their head out the window and hear loud music come from somebody's home. And a lot of that is because everybody and their mama is recording right now.
Right.
So I feel like if you don't like what you heard and everybody has access to a streaming service or the radio, then go ahead and just turn off what you don't like,
right,
and put on what you do like.
And that's kind of my thing, because there's
Yeah.
so much music out there, for number one.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna say that country music is a terrible genre. I'm not gonna say that heavy metal is a terrible genre, but it's just not my cup of tea. No. So I don't listen to it. Now I don't go out there and condemn whatever they sing about, whatever,
absolutely not,
whatever their music is about, because obviously if you're an artist that's continuing on, you're continuing on for 2 reasons. One, you are completely in love with the game, and whether you've got 500 fans or whether you got 5 fans, you're gonna put out content. Or B, you're making money doing this. You've got a good following, and you're gonna continue giving people what you want. Because it's kind of like what Cardi said. She was like, when I rap about stuff that doesn't deal with that, everyone always comes after me like, why aren't you rapping about the same stuff? Oh, you've changed, yada yada yada. So she goes back to rapping about what people want to hear. So if that's what her fans want to hear, that's what they want to hear. One quote, it's not really a quote, or it's from a lyric. J. Cole's 1985 song, when he was talking about, I forgot that boy's name that fast.
You talking about Lil Pump?
Yeah, Lil Pump. He was talking about how about his songs, like he's unimpressed, but he loves to see a black man get paid. So that's the thing. Like, there are people out there, like, we're condemning people for what they're doing. Like, I might not agree with what you're saying. I might not agree with what you're doing. But at the end of the day, as long as you're not hurting anyone, hey, you're doing what you're doing to make your money. Like,
right.
You don't need to do that at my expense. You don't need to diss me. You don't need to come after me or anything like that. If you can do it without hurting somebody, all right, cool. That's what you're doing to make money.
Right.
I don't see, and a lot of people want to use the excuse that, oh, well, what happens if my kids see this? What happens if, yeah. People got to start realizing that, number one, sex is how we all got here.
Right.
That's number one.
Americans
You're all going to find out about it at some point in life. Number two, if you don't tell your kids about it or teach your kids about it at home, they're going to find out about it at school. And the way that they learn about it at school is probably not the way you want them to learn about it.
It sure ain't.
So you might as well just have the conversations early, have it as, as professional and, as real as you can. because if they ain't hearing it from you, they're gonna hear from somebody else. Like it's gonna happen.
Yes.
We gotta stop condemning,
Yeah.
sex. Like
And
it's out there in the world. It happens. Like, all
and
right, move on.
like before I touch on what you were saying before, let me speak on the tail end of what you're saying. Just like sexuality, Americans have been prude about that for years.
Mm-hmm.
We were prude about it before, we're prude about it now, and probably will be continue to be prude about it for the foreseeable future. Again, very much unlike the rest of the world, especially like you look at like a lot of European countries, they're very in tune and open about that stuff, and they're very comfortable with that, and they teach about it, and they're just very open about it.
Right.
America, on the other hand, we're the opposite of all these countries because we condemn sexuality. We frown upon it. It's taboo, but it's okay, for these movies, people shooting people in the head, killing people, chopping heads off, chopping limbs off, but that's okay. But the second somebody's naked, everybody's up in arms.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, we came into this world that naked that's natural. Like somebody's head getting chopped off is not natural. But again, America is so backwards that, again, this prude thing. But touch on what, how we got here and, to this topic. That double standard has existed for so long and still exists. And unfortunately, for me, I don't buy into that general double standard of, women in general, where a woman can, broadening the topic a little bit, where a woman can have 30 sexual partners, but the same counter male can have 30 sexual partners, female sexual partners, or whoever. And the two individuals are looked at very differently.
Correct.
Right? So the woman is like, oh my goodness, you're harlot. Right? Well, the guy is like, oh, okay, like, oh man,
he's the man, he's the don, he's
right,
got
you're
it.
a stud, you're a king out
Right.
here. Like, oh, you knocking him down. Like, that's not okay. It was never okay. It's not okay now, and it won't ever be okay. Like,
correct.
To me, it's like, yo, you getting it in, you do what you want to do. That's why I never, when a woman told me, like, I never asked a woman happened to give me the information, like, oh, I've had 20 something, or I've had 30 something sexual partners. I'm like, okay, I don't care. Like, it doesn't.
I've never
have
a situation where I've asked, how many people have you slept with? Because
there's no reason to ask.
There's no reason to ask, and it's none of my business. The only thing I need to know is, are you, and when I say clean, like, do you not have any diseases? Because
right.
I'm protecting myself at that point.
As long as you don't have anything,
I'm clean.
We're good. We're good. The more partners you have,
opposite on that, man.
The more partners you have, which means the more experience you have, you might be able to teach me something. Hey, I'm all for that.
I say this, I'm kind of on the opposite end of that. Not on some like, I've got to know, but I'm like, shit, we getting to know each other. This is a part of who you are.
I mean, that's fine. That's from that perspective. I understand that. I understand it from that perspective.
See, it's one thing if she brings it up, and I'm saying she because just from my point of view. But like if I'm with a young lady and she brings it up and she wants to talk about it, she brought it up on her own. She wants to talk about it on her own. Yeah. I'm not going to try and dig the information out of her. Is basically what I'm saying.
Right. Right. And because at the end of the day, whether you have the information or you don't have the information, the number doesn't matter. It could be 5, it could be 50. For me, I don't care.
Nothing's gonna change.
It's not gonna change.
It's more like
what might change, because if you told me you have, because quite frankly, if you ask me, hey, would you rather mess with somebody that had 1 sexual partner or somebody had 100? I'm like, give me the person who's been with 100, because the chick that only been with 1 person, you don't know nothing, and you can't really bring anything to the table that's going like entice me. Give me the 100 if I got to pick between one or the other. But Cardi, like, how many years ago was Lil Kim doing this same thing? Speaking about these same thing, Lil Kim and Foxy Brown, more Lil Kim, but Lil Kim and Foxy. Like, how many years ago were they speaking about these same things? And it's just like,
it's just this whole wave now.
Like, it's so like,
and again, to me, I don't. Okay, well, that's that type of music. And if you don't want to listen to that type of music, but you still want to listen to females rap, you have options as well.
Exactly.
Right,
So-
you got options. And just back in the day, you had
And I
options
direct
too.
that specifically at men
I mean-
because this music is not made for men.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, and Lil Kim was one of those artists that kind of opened that door. But there were other artists in that era. They weren't talking about MC Light. You know what I'm saying? Queen Latifah. Like, you had female artists that were out there that weren't explicit like that. But Lil
Right.
Kim just brought in a different style of rap. She was much more hardcore.
yeah.
And that's the
that was
thing,
my
like
first
it's
album, but
it's talked about in so many genres and by so many artists. It's the way. So like
Mhm.
you know, Cardi and Meg Thee Stallion, they're hardcore with it, and they're
Yeah, I'm
straight
all
to the
for it,
point.
too.
They're like, this is what I'm talking about. This is how it's gonna be. Then you go
Yeah,
to
but then
you go to the
got
R&B
your young
side.
ladies out there, talking about other things and
Well, yeah, I understand that, but like you got your R&B side where they're more visual with it. Like they're going to, I don't want to necessarily say woo you, but they're going to use, symbolism to get their point across and things like that. So they're not going to be as straightforward, but at the end of the day, what they're talking about. So it's the message is getting across. It's just how do you want to receive the message, and then
Right.
if you don't want that message at all, then just listen to different artists. Like that's it. It's your
Listen to
choice. If
something
you don't
else.
want to listen to music, it's like if I don't want to listen to trap music, I don't need to talk about trap music. I just go listen to an artist that doesn't
something
Right.
use trap music. Like,
Right. Look,
but
I
it's
listened to
just-
the song and I enjoyed it. I didn't really know what the song was about until I got like 30 seconds in. I was like, oh,
it
that's
took
what
you
that
that
stands
long?
for. Well, how many every seconds it was when she, maybe it was like 15, 20, but I was like, oh, that's what that stands for. Oh, this is great. I'm going to be in for the ride for the next 3 minutes. Like, this is going to be great. I enjoyed all 3 of those minutes. And I'm just like, hey, but like I say, it ain't for everybody, but hey, it's for me. I'm with it. I'm like, hey,
I'm enjoying
bring
it.
it. And the video was cool too. I mean, Cardi got too many enhancements for me now. I liked her a little bit before she started adding on to herself too much. I'm like,
you don't like the tattoos?
no, tattoos are fine.
Are you
It's
talking
all the
about
other
body enhancements?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like, all these
I mean,
body
her body was enhanced before. It's just, it's a
just
little bit
more
better
now.
because the check's a little bit better. That's all.
Yeah, see, that's now it's too much. I'm like, before, like a little enhancements where you can say, I'm not sure. If you can go,
I don't understand what that means. You gotta explain what's too much.
Too much is where she's at now, where I can look at her visually, and I'm like, you've added way too much. It's like, to me, it's not appealing anymore because I can tell, like, okay, that's not real. When I can look and go, okay, it's not real.
She'll tell you like.
It's like, to me, I'm like,
I got this done.
I'm like, I don't like it anymore. Hey, is it just me?
I think that's a preference with people.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, we had that conversation.
Like the same thing with different body types and stuff like that. Like there are people that like bigger body types, people like smaller body types, and people that have no care whatsoever if you have body enhancements. There's some people where that's a complete
Some people that do right. And for me, it's like, it is what it is. Whether you on the thicker side, whether you on the slimmer side, whatever the case may be. But if you natural, hey, that's what I'm about. whether it be thicker or thinner, just give it to me natural. Like, just come as you are.
But yeah, as far as like the music is concerned, that's why I try to make an effort to list off the artists, because no one's gonna tell me, oh well, name somebody then. Like, no,
bro,
like
Rhapsody had one of the best albums of the year, and she is not talked about as much.
Who's that?
Rhapsody.
Yeah, absolutely. Her album's incredible. And people who want to take the time will take the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just kind of just float and let the streaming service tell them, what to listen to, and you're gonna get what you're gonna get when you do that.
Yeah.
Now, since you brought that up, I read, I think it was earlier this week and last week by the time you all, the audience, see this podcast. But I think it was the CEO of Spotify. Like he came out and he said that if artists want to make more money, or he might not have said to make more money part, but he says artists need to produce more content to basically produce more content to make more money. And I think someone broke it down to like later on, and they were like, I forgot how many streams it is, but however many streams it was, like you only get $400. But then And then on Apple Music, you get $600 for that same amount of streams. But then on like Tidal, you get like $1,500 or whatever for that same amount of streams.
Yeah, Apple sucks.
So one, they were just talking about how we use these bigger streams, but yet we don't utilize, the Black-owned business stream and Tidal.
That pays better.
Right. But then the second thing is, I don't think that as a streaming service, I don't feel like it's right for you to say, if you want more money, produce more content. And the reason I say is because two artists that, at the top of my game right now, no offense, C, but J. Cole and Kendrick, number 1 and number 2 for me. And they are two artists that don't put out music a lot like that. Like Kendrick hasn't put out an album in two years, maybe 3, and I'm not considering the soundtrack for Black Panther because he produced it. It wasn't like every single song on there was his and all that kind of stuff. And J. Cole's supposed to have the Fall Off come out this year, but it's been a couple years since he's had an album come out besides his spots on the Revenge of the Dreamers album. So you can't ask an artist to put out a new song every Friday for new music Friday.
Yeah, if you want to make more money, bring me more traffic. Like what?
Yeah, because then the thing is, all right. So now we'll use you as an example. If you were to upload a new song to Spotify every single week, we'll just say every single Friday for New Music Friday, then at what point are you even putting out genuine content? Like, are you even focused on, is this something that is my voice? Is this something that's genuine? Or am I just putting out a song just so I can, have a song out there so I can be getting paid for the streaming service? So at one point, does the art no longer become art because it's not even what you really want?
Well, what a lot of consumers aren't taking into account is that the timing of your releases is a big part of the marketing process as well.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you want to come out with music right away, but there's no space for you in the current climate.
Right.
So like you'll take an artist like Rick Ross as an example. So he just put out a song, I think it was like yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was Friday.
And an artist like him, he has to throw out warm-up records here and there. And then when something catches on, it's like, okay, they're ready to hear me again. And then he drops a project.
Mm-hmm.
But, you get an artist like one of these artists with the name Lil in them. You can name any one of them. And how there's new song.
27 of them.
Yeah, so, you name, they got a new song out every Thursday, every Friday. They got new songs coming out. But, they're putting those songs out because those people just want to hear one song from them.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
hearing one new song from them, and that's all they want.
For Kendrick, like the last album that he put out was the Damn album. That was his last one.
So Kendrick is a perfect example. The amount of time, the span of time that is spread out between his albums is part of his marketing process. That absence that you have in the industry makes people crave your music. So by the time it comes out, people are like, all right, finally, let me go ahead and consume as much of this as I can.
Because that's what J. Cole has been doing with the Fall Off. So KOD, his 5th studio album, that came out in 2018 in April. Now, at the end of it, and the 1985 song, like he talked about the song "The Fall Off," or in it says the intro to the Fall Off. Now that was 2018, and here we are in 2020. So it's been 2 years, and the Fall Off still hasn't come yet. But every time we see J. Cole, everyone's like, "Oh, when's the Fall Off coming? When's the Fall Off coming? When's the Fall Off coming?" When the Revenge of the Dreamers album dropped last year. And you had their little mini documentary where you got to go like behind the scenes and them making the compilation album and all that kind of stuff. Like everyone's like, well, is he recording songs for the album or is he recording songs for the Fall Off? Like what's he doing? So, and then with COVID and all that kind of stuff, we don't know if the Fall Off was supposed to come earlier or is it coming later. So when it does drop, like it's gonna be hot. Everybody's gonna listen to it. Like it's market. Like it's marketing. Like it's smart.
Is the marketing.
I've been waiting on the Scenic Route Act 2 from Seed for like 15 years. And we don't know when that's gonna come out.
We don't.
So I'm gonna give y'all, a little scoop on the inside of the process. So I had a concept that I had an idea for when putting this project out. And what I said was I wanted to put out one album over the span of several years in order for that album to be able to relate to multiple eras.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's called the scenic route. It's because it's kind of a double entendre in a way that one, I'm a lot older of an artist than you would consider a new artist because I technically haven't released an album before.
Mm-hmm.
So technically you're a new artist until you put out your first album.
Yeah, that's what happened to Jay Electronica.
So I've stretched that out over what's becoming a little bit of a career now. And I put out a compilation mixtape, and then I put out that was in 2000, and then I put out that was a group I was a part of, a collective I was a part of. Shout out to DBL. And there was a span of time where I was creating singles, trying to just kind of find like what my sound was. So that was a time where I was calling myself Logic the Hustler. So the project that I put out called Logic, the 2007 project.
Mm-hmm.
I put that out in 2007. That was my first solo effort, but it was a mixtape. There was like
that.
And stuff like that.
So
then I released a mixtape called A Beautiful Mind.
Ooh.
A Beautiful Mind came out August 3rd, 2000. I want to say 2013. And so I did all this music in between 2013 and 2016.
Right.
And I ended up kind of dropping singles here and there, but I never like put out an official project.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time I got to this, I was like, all right, I'm ready to put out an album. But because of the way music consumption has changed, people they stream your shit, and then if they like it, they might hear it a few more times, but for the most part, they're gonna take their one or two favorite songs, throw it into a playlist, and then that's what they're gonna listen to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because something new is gonna be out by next week anyway.
Right. So, when I put out these songs, I was like, I'm just gonna put out about 5-6 at a time, so people can kind of soak those in, and then when the new one comes out a couple of years later, they'll have to go back to see how everything connects because it's one project.
Right.
And so
that's kind of what like Logic kind of did with his studio albums in the sense of how like they connected.
Yeah.
So I felt like concept albums like that. I always felt like that's been a good route. Like I love concept albums. I don't like the thrown together album just to say that you have an album. I think that's why why I listen to people like J. Cole and Kendrick, because they have concept albums. Kendrick has one of the best concept albums ever in To Pimp a Butterfly. So it's just in those type of sense, like it's because that's how you relate to the artist. You know what the artist is going through, what they're talking about, what's on their mind, things like that. That's when you really get to see their artistic style, their artistic flow, maybe some things that they want to experiment with artistically. But then you're literally along for the ride. Like you're there from track one to the last track, just listening to whatever. I'm just mad because I was promised the Scenic Route Act 2, and the Scenic Route Act 2 just still ain't.
So I'll tell you the big thing about that is that part of my release plan has been hindered by COVID.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so, it involved me going certain places and doing certain things. And it's hard to take the scenic route when you can't go outside.
Fair.
So the good thing about delaying the process is I think I'm piecing together some of the best work I've ever composed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's allowing me to kind of have the time to change the concept and the way I'm doing things so that things are more cohesive between Act 1 and Act 2. So I think that's what's happening with a lot of artists right now. I think right now you're either two kinds of artists. One, staying inside and being around your family is hindering your creativity because a lot of artists draw inspiration from travel and from interactions with others outside in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're one of these artists like myself who, being inside, has and having additional time to think and to process things has granted me a luxury that I haven't had before, because I'm such a busybody all the time, and I'm always moving and doing different things and working on different businesses and such. So
Mhm.
so it's enabled me to step into a creative space to do things that I haven't done before. So I think that, as we start to kind of move towards, people trying to get back to normalcy, we're going to start seeing a lot more creativity from music, and we're going to start to expect a lot of artists are probably studying the business side of things and getting smarter about how to do things. And so I think we're gonna see some great changes over the next, I want to say, over the next 6 to 12 months, in the way people release music and in the way people put things out. So it used to be, back in the days, you'd have to go do this media tour, and then you drop a warm-up single, and then you drop the single, and then you drop the project, and when you drop the project, now you drop the second single, and there was this whole process before. But now, because you open your streaming service every time you want to listen to music, if they can just go, bow, listen to this shit, now you listening to it. So they don't necessarily have to do these things. And because we have social media, we follow our favorite artists already. So when we open Instagram, when we open Twitter, when we open whatever we open, our favorite artist, boom, it can be right in our face and be like, yo, this is what I'm doing right now. Go check this out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be a lot of artists that are taking in a full understanding of that and saying, okay, well, now I want to do this like this. Like, in the words of Jay-Z, new rules. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Hey,
That's an interesting question.
Because I'm kind of torn, because I love music. I love listening to new music, but I still, I always go back to music that I love that came out years ago. I'll still go back to listen to an entire album, stuff like that. I'm not like one of those people that moved into the full streaming service where I only want to listen to the new stuff or whatever's trending, viral, all that kind of stuff. And then once that's no longer cool, hot, whatever, moving on to the next thing. So in one sense, I get it, where I would love if all my favorite artists drop new music all the time. I would absolutely love it. But I also get where it's not practical, because you don't get their best work when they have to focus on, man, I got to drop this new song this Friday, and then next Friday I got to drop another song, and then they're just putting out stuff that they don't even really feel like is their best work and things like that. So I don't have a problem with waiting. I guess my biggest issue with you're kind of tearing them away from their art once you bring money into it, and you're like, if you want more money, give us more content. Where it should be, if their content is that good, give them more money, because the amount of content that they have already out there is that good. Someone could have, just because someone has 100 songs on Spotify doesn't necessarily mean that they're better than someone that has 20 songs on Spotify. Right. Those 20 songs could be legit, and those 100 songs could be trash. So the thing is, pay people for, and like I said, I don't know the 100% true workings of how the streaming and stuff works, but I feel like it really should be, if this content is still being played to this day, it's getting high views, high streams, people are constantly going back for it, we're going to pay you because of this. We'll up the percentage of what we're giving you per stream, based on it. So if you can stay consistently, hey, you're consistently getting, I'm just gonna throw a number out there, you're getting 5,000 streams a day on this particular song. So instead of you getting 0.003 cents per stream, we'll give you 3 cents per stream, or we'll give you 30 cents, whatever they want to do, giving incentives for people actually listening to the stuff you already have out there, instead of just saying, because you got new stuff coming out, we'll give you, that's how you'll make more money.
Man, I'll tell you this, as far as Spotify specifically is concerned, they just don't pay enough for streams. They just don't. Unless you're like Russ, who's independent and then does millions of streams on singles, you're not making a livable wage off of your music on streams. And what's killing a lot of people right now, what's killing a lot of artists is their money's fucked up. You have a lot of artists that they're not going to clubs, they're not doing these walkthroughs and these appearances anymore. They're not doing shows anymore. They're not doing concerts. They're not going to festivals.
No guest appearances and none of that kind of stuff.
The live performance and merch are typically an artist's two primary streams of income. Right. And a lot of artists aren't getting that anymore. Like, where are the concerts? You know what I mean? Right. So we just passed through the summer. The summer's the biggest time where artists make the bulk of their money because everybody's at the club, everybody's outside, everybody's doing stuff, and there's artists there that are making money doing that. There are artists like I don't know. I'll just say artist A. Artist A earns, they might earn $80,000 a show, and their share of that $80,000 is probably about $40,000-$50,000. And now, from that share, they also they might do another $15,000-$20,000 in merch, and then those streams might be $2,000-$3,000.
Right.
And now all they're making is that $2,000-$3,000.
Yikes.
Yeah,
that means That means all the people that are around them, security, all the roadies and the equipment people and all the tour staff. All those people that earn all of those wages are not working and not eating right now. So everything's going to. So for somebody at Spotify to turn, who's the largest music streaming service in the world, for somebody like that to say, well, why don't you just go do more work if you want to make more money, is probably the most obnoxious thing I've heard this year about anything in the music industry.
Oh, yeah. 100% agree.
Like, you already are making money off of even your free tiered base through advertising.
Right.
So, and then you have your subscriptions, and then you have tiered subscriptions on top of that. I pay $14.99 a month for Spotify because I have a family.
I have the family plan.
Me too.
So it's not even like, it's not even like how I could have, like, when Spotify first started, I had a student account, I was paying $4.99.
Right.
Those are sweet. And I have to think about that because I wasn't the type of person that bought a lot of albums back before streaming. I was the type of person where, I jumped on Napster or one of these services and I bootlegged the artists that I didn't really fuck with like that, but I wanted their music. And LimeWire or one of these.
Oh, now you're taking it real bad.
Or LimeWire.
Kazaa.
Oh man.
I jump on one of these and I download. And I would just buy who I really liked that came out.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Well,
other than that, you're one of my favorite artists. Like, I purchased your album, I purchased your singles. Like, I supported you. If you were someone where I knew, I was like, all right, I might listen to the song a couple of times. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I downloaded yours off of some from I got it from a friend.
Right.
Right.
And I put it on my computer. Now, where my friend got it, I don't know, but I got it from my friend.
Oh, I know, you got a CD-R with the name of the album written on it.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. But
hey, you be sitting in your car, you be sitting in your car and you be driving down the road like, man, I wonder what's on this CD, and you just pop it in and it'd be like 17 different artists, all on one CD. And you're like, oh, okay, cool.
It's the same thing with all them entertainment properties in that fashion, where it's like movies, games. It's the same thing. Like, it's a movie. Like, if it's something you really support, like an actor you really support, or a director that you really support, or a film company, whatever, filmmaker, you'll buy it, right? But you might also have a copy of it somewhere. You might not need to keep the physical thing, but same thing with games, specifically older games. ROMs is a big thing. You're talking about NES, Genesis, Super Nintendo, the Game Boys, the Game Gears. They have ROMs for pretty much every old game preceding up to and including like the PlayStation 2, Dreamcast era, right? But it's like, if there's a way for you to support and you can purchase a copy of it, yeah, you can buy it, and then you can legitimately have a ROM as well. But sometimes there might not be a legitimate way for you to buy it.
So let me ask you
music,
to piggyback. Specifically streaming, with Game Pass kind of starting to become the norm with Xbox.
Yo.
Let me ask y'all
brought
this.
that up.
Do y'all
Reed gets a
do
little bit of
y'all
a hard on every time you say Game Pass.
Yo, man.
So let me ask y'all this. Do y'all feel like Xbox gamers probably at some level have disappeared from GameStop?
Oh, I have.
Yeah, I mean, probably,
I don't
of
remember
course.
the last time I've been.
The last time I went to
Not,
GameStop,
not that I've been and I've actually purchased some.
the last time I went to GameStop was the last time I purchased something, and that was Black Friday of 2016. That was the last time I was in GameStop, and the last time I purchased something from GameStop.
Last time I purchased something at GameStop was just recently because I bought Paper Mario when it came out, so that was last month. I traded some stuff in that was laying around here to get Paper Mario, and that was last time I. Here's the thing. Short answer to your question is no. There's no real reason, especially with the way Game Pass functions and how it will continue to function, how it's going to evolve, especially with xCloud on the horizon. Now, I got something to say about xCloud in a second, but GameStop has been a dying model for a while. We've touched about it on several different other podcasts and outside of the podcast where GameStop should have and could have changed their model just slightly enough to survive and to probably thrive if they had changed it in a particular fashion. I'm not even going to mention what it is because I don't even need to put that out there because it is what it is. But they could have changed it and it could have worked. It would have worked, especially them having a footprint in the market already. All they had to do was just fluctuate the design of their stores a little bit and they'd have been good to go. But they didn't, and now they're going to die out because somebody described. I listened to a podcast that does like retro games, and he described it really well. Going into GameStop or EB Games was kind of like, at this point, especially GameStop, because they still have EB Games in like other parts of the world or whatever, but GameStop is like going into like a flea market because it's like they don't have, because it's like they got games over here, they got action figures over here, they got a whole wall of Funkos over here, they got T-shirts over here, they got a clearance rack of T-shirts over here, they got clearance figures and other crap over here in the corner. It's like, yo, what is going on here? Like, this is a game store. Like, I'm here for games. Like, just GameStop missed the mark, and it could still have been about, even though games are changing and going digital, they could have had a model where that's okay and they could have thrived, but it didn't. So because people still have to buy that stuff. People still have to buy subscriptions. People still have to buy games digitally in some fashion they want to. Maybe they don't want to buy it. I know people that buy games digitally, but they don't necessarily want to buy it like through the online service. So like they'll go buy the digital card for the game in the store. Like a lot of companies, GameStop has them, but you walked into a Walmart or a Target and you see all the digital cards for all these games right there next to the game racks. But it's like GameStop, man. But to touch on Game Pass again, because anytime anybody mentions Game Pass, I'm going to talk about it and how great it is and how it's going to kind of revolutionize that aspect of games because as we know it, and even more so as we continue to get more information about the upcoming consoles and about the direction every company is going in. Microsoft has one direction, Sony's got one, Nintendo's got a different one. So that's fine. Microsoft is about streaming, cloud. They're about, hey, there was big backlash even from Sony people, a lot of people that like Sony, that it's like, hey, so you said I can use PS4 controllers, but now you're saying, oh, by the way, I can use them, but I can't use them to play PS5 games. Right. I can just use them to play PS4 games and some of them. And while it's crazy because while that logistically makes sense when you talk about the history of consoles, when a new console comes out, your old controller is not going to work for the new console, right? Mm-hmm. But Microsoft has set a new precedent now that when Sony came out and said, yo, those PS4 controllers are not going to work on the PS5 with PS5 games, people were like, wait, what? Why? And that's only because Microsoft was like, yo, bro, get the new console or don't. You use your old controllers. You want to use the old Xbox One controllers, your old One X, your old Elite controllers, your old whatever. Yeah, man, go ahead and use that. Cool, so whatever. You got Game Pass. Play it on the Xbox One X. Play it on the Series X. Play it on whatever. Play it on your PC. Play it on your phone. It really doesn't matter. Use
And
whatever.
that's a huge deal because I got about 3-4 controllers in my home right
And
now.
yeah, and because Microsoft made a definitive decision about that, and because Microsoft has been so consumer friendly, Sony coming out and saying that, people all of a sudden were like, yo, what are you talking about? I can't use my PS4 controller. And it's so crazy because just a year ago, that would have been like, oh yeah, that makes sense because you're getting a new console, the old controls aren't going to work.
Controllers, yeah, right.
But Microsoft was like, hey, use whatever. So now people are like, yo, why can't I use whatever over here? so now people are mad at Sony.
Something that we were already used to, and then Microsoft switched the game, and now we act like, oh, so now we can't carry this on, like just like that. We switched what the norm is.
It's like, yo, and Microsoft, this is great. And to stretch on that even further, talking about xCloud, now that we have a definitive, we know what xCloud is now a little bit more. We know xCloud has September 15th, it officially goes live into Game Pass. So you got Game Pass Ultimate. Guess what? You have access to xCloud and whatever is in Game Pass. And then when they expand on whatever it is in your library, whenever they get to that point. Mm-hmm. But it's only, here's the thing, Game Pass, as it goes live on the 15th into September 15th into Game Pass, it's only going to be available for Android users, right? And here's Android phones and Android tablets at the onset, and not even PCs yet. They haven't expanded where the xCloud portion of it is going to work in the PCs from the jump. From the jump, it's going to be Android phones and Android tablets. And it's not going to extend to Apple. And this is Apple's fault, 100%. It's not on Microsoft, because there was some back and forth about whose fault this is. And all the information that's now available is that it's 100% Apple's fault because of the way Apple's infrastructure works with applications and like streaming applications, and especially as it applies to games, which is why Game Pass and Stadia won't work on Apple's infrastructure. And mainly this is because Apple blocks those type of things from functioning that way because it's a service, because it's not made by Apple, and because because Apple can't see any revenue off of it. And that's the real reason why they don't want those services on there, because Apple has their own game streaming, Apple Arcade and all that stuff. That why would they let Microsoft put their Game Pass thing on Apple and completely shut that down? Because if they let Game Pass, Apple Arcade would just die. Because well, what am I use that for? I got Game Pass. Like, I got access to all these excellent AAA quality. I can get Halo Infinite and play it on my phone. Why? What do I need? There's nothing in Apple Arcade that's better than Halo Infinite.
You can play Hellblade right now. I got Hellblade on my phone right now.
So, and again,
I can connect my controller to my phone.
There's a lot of people now having these conversations where they're like, and good on Microsoft, because a lot of people are like, well, I was getting ready to get an iPad, but maybe I won't because I'm a heavy gamer and I want to be able to use my tablet to play Game Pass stuff. And there are now legitimately people having those conversations where they're like, maybe I'll get a Microsoft thing or whatever, or the Android or whatever the case may be that can use that software. And maybe I won't get. There are people like, maybe I might need a second phone. There are people with Apple that can't jump out of the infrastructure because they're like 3-4 generations into Apple and they're not going to leave it. But they're like, maybe I might need to get an Android phone on the side because I want to be able to play Game Pass.
Right.
They're they're Xbox gamers that are left out of that. They're left out in the cold because they are in the Apple infrastructure as well as a Microsoft gamer.
I will tell you, as somebody that's using xCloud right now, that the idea is great in theory and it is excellent in execution.
Yeah, it is in both, and Microsoft has knocked it out of the park because, like you said, rarely does the idea and the execution match up.
Correct. And
Microsoft has matched it up perfectly, and
match people, up and like work right away.
Yeah,
like that's
they got this thing to work in alpha, in beta, in preview streaming.
And Microsoft don't get everything right. Microsoft does not get a lot of things right.
No, absolutely not. No,
but they got
miss
this
a lot.
right.
Yeah, they got this right. They finally redesigned Internet Explorer and killed it and made it Microsoft Edge, and it's infinitely now better and is absolutely challenging Google Chrome for your website for your
Browser
whatever
of choice.
Yeah, your browser. Thank you. Your browser of choice.
This is the company that bought Nokia and then basically bet everything on Nokia to carry Windows Phone into being a third OS that would operate in the mobile market, and we all know how that ended. So
Yeah, and
Microsoft fails a lot, but they got this right.
They got this right. Everything they've been doing,
but those
everything
commercials, they went hard on it. Like
Yeah.
they were lit.
Everything.
Look at the camera on this phone. How good the camera is on this phone. And 42
How does the phone itself work? We ain't worried about that. Just look at the
We'll
camera.
talk about that.
We're talking about the camera. We're talking about the camera.
Look at the camera.
But you know what? At the same time, Apple gets away with that. Like they do a whole commercial talking about how beautiful the photos are.
But you know, that's what a lot of phones do. That's what Samsung's doing the same thing. What was it? The Galaxy phone that was blowing up from the batteries and everything?
Yeah, scrap that one.
Like, forget the phone blowing up. Look at the camera that's on it. And then with people that have like the Pixel, like a lot of people say like, oh, I love the camera on the Pixel and everything. I'm like, but how's the phone? They're like, but the camera. I'm like, y'all, like the phone, like me, like I have a camera. Like I know these are dying to some people, but I'd much rather this than the camera on my phone. Like
best
I still
way to
trust
go
this
for
more.
photo.
So my thing is, I don't care about the camera on this as much.
No, you
like
don't.
this is just a secondary. Like how does the phone?
That's for selfies.
Yeah.
But and again, Microsoft has figured.
That's always my tangent when it comes to cameras, by the way.
Hey, and you're not wrong.
I see that.
He's 100% right though. But Microsoft has also 100% right. They've gotten this right. They've been working on the infrastructure for Game Pass, xCloud, and all that stuff for years. And this is their end game plan to do this and move into this direction, and they're executing it flawlessly. And you know, Game Pass is going to be the wave, and xCloud is going to be its gap where it brings people in, where it bridges. Like, yo, you can play Game Pass on your phone. You can have access to that through xCloud on your phone.
Think of the Sony users with Android phones and tablets.
Yeah, right. They're in the infrastructure. They're like, yo, what's up with this? It's Game Pass. I can get Game Pass on here. Where's PS Now? Sony's like, what are you talking about? What's PS Now? They're like, we don't know what that is. So, but it's an xCloud is going to again take things in a direction in a new direction that we haven't seen before, and it's going to be a sight. It's going to be a sight to behold. You know, you got your Bluetooth controller, preferably your Xbox controller, boom, right there with your phone. You're going to be good to go, and you just go with it. Like, and eventually a decision will have to be made down the line where there should enough, if the market share starts to increase enough where Apple feels the pressure to go, okay, we're going to have to get on with this Game Pass thing, because
they're going to have to,
because you got a lot of Xbox gamers that have Apple phones. They're in the Apple infrastructure, and that's okay.
See,
but there are a lot of them.
I think that's where Apple is. And let's be honest. We know at some point in the future, Apple's going to get it. But what's going to hurt them for them not having it now is that no matter what you think about the phones, because everyone has a preference of Apple or Android when it comes to phones. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I feel like Apple does a better job in the tablet department than Androids do.
I agree.
That's where Apple is losing sales, because they could literally be selling killer iPads right now, like the new iPad Pros, for people to use for xCloud. But because they don't have that right now, people are either going to have to say, well, I'll just wait and potentially not get
I'm going to give me a Surface.
Android tablets just off the strength that they're cheaper as well. It's like, well, I get exactly what I want, and it's cheaper.
Yeah. Right. And
like, and people, especially, people who are, casuals in these devices, they're not understanding the difference in processing and RAM. They're not worried about all of that. They're just like, can I get what I want to get on this? Can I get the app that I want to get on this? Yep. Is it going to work okay? All right, give me this. So they don't know the difference between a $950 iPad $200-$300 Android
No.
tablet.
Right.
Maybe the $100 Surface tab. They don't know the
Right.
difference.
They don't.
Exactly.
So
And
they're gonna just use what they're comfortable with as long as they can get the apps that they're used to. And that's
Right.
what's basically gonna be happening is that
facts.
xCloud is becoming one of those bigger. Is gonna end up becoming one of those bigger apps that people are like, well, I have to make sure I have this on this.
Right. Exactly. And Microsoft taking this step further is even has that kind of, semi-partnership with Samsung, where the new Samsung S20s, Galaxy S20s, and the new Notes are going to have like a streamlined, specialized version of Game Pass for it to sync with it kind of seamlessly in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is it going to be like
Mark-
one of those? If you get the phone, like you get like a 1 month or 3 month free trial.
They might have something like that too. But I'm sure it'll be. I'm sure it's something also where it's like integrated in a way where it works, in a fashion where it's not like external and then put on there and so.
Gotcha.
So here's the thing to take this one step further, right? So we all heard that, Microsoft is interested in purchasing TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that.
So now, what if they somehow integrate the social media experience with TikTok, where xCloud or with gaming on the Xbox?
They can do it with the captures, the game records and the screenshot captures, because it's already.
They're not doing Mixer anymore, so
right. I think you can go up to 2 minutes now in your game records, but you could set it where like, hey, when I record this, send it straight to my reel. Or send it straight to well, it's real on Instagram, but whatever Microsoft ends up calling it, if it doesn't stay TikTok. But
that's gonna be dope.
For the sake of this argument, they could say send this game record to my TikTok, and so now you've got a whole gaming section, gaming content. It's just nothing but whatever game you're playing, just a whole bunch of recorded clips, and that could be genius. Like that could be integrated easily into their interface, and boom,
It
just
could
like
be.
that.
They
make whatever they spend on TikTok to purchase it, they make that back in no problem.
Facts. And I need to bring back some sort of voice recognition. I need Xbox Record that to come back. I need that somehow.
Well,
I don't care.
the Google Assistant.
You can do it with the Google Assistant.
Can you? Have you tried it? Have you done it?
No, I haven't.
I'm actually. You know what? I will try it right now while we're.
I haven't even set it up yet.
Because that's all well and good to say, but unless I need receipts. I need hard evidence that works, because that's the only thing. That's the one.
In theory, that it would work, but
Yeah.
I'm about to try it right now.
That's the one and only thing.
To be honest,
when
I had the Kinect, I never used the Kinect for like the visuals in the sense like the dance moves and all that kind of stuff.
Used it for that.
The motion
Nobody
capture.
ever used it to turn their Xbox on,
right,
off,
like
and
it was
record
for me.
things.
It was Xbox on. The only time now it did get me upset whenever I was playing Madden, and I don't really want to talk about Madden, but it would get me upset when like I would be talking and I would say something like, "Oh man, I really need to call a timeout soon," and then boom, like it automatically. But just because it heard the word timeout, it calls a timeout. And like sometimes like my brother would know that, so like out of nowhere he'll come out the room and just say timeout, and then like a timeout will be called in like the first minute of the second quarter. So I would get ticked off about that. But outside of that, like I love the Kinect for the voice aspect of it. Like,
yeah, that's all I need. I just need the voice thing to record for me, because I don't having to go into, and because there's no dedicated share button, which I think the Xbox needs to have that, because that was something that Sony had on the PS4.
Yeah.
That is another step up that they had in this generation. Like we need a share button, a dedicated share, especially now the way games are and the way streaming is and the way people, we're all on Twitch, we're all on this, we're all on some sort of service.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta have some sort of dedicated share.
You
button
can't even
somewhere.
upload your clips, like straight to YouTube. Like I think it can either go to, back when Mixer was there, you could upload it to Mixer or to the OneDrive. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I need a voice recognition so I can record easily, so I don't have to pause.
I'm gonna try it right
now. I don't have to hit the guide button.
That on the Xbox.
I don't have to hit the record button. I don't have to hit the guide button, the menu button, and then that worked.
That worked. Game clip recorded.
So what do you have to say? Xbox what? Or
This is what the Google Assistant, so it's replaced the Connect essentially.
So you said record on this Xbox. What was it?
The command was okay, Google, record that on the Xbox.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's okay. That's a lot to say, but I can get down with that. I can live with that. You know.
And I've got my assistant in my room. I keep one at my bedside as an alarm clock. And sometimes I use it to, play music when I'm having special time.
Oh, you have a physical device for this?
Yeah. I got two of them. I got one in my kitchen and one in my master bedroom. And the one in my kitchen I typically use to play music, and it doubles as a cooking timer.
Oh, that's dope.
Or I'll just Google and ask it questions real quick.
Right.
And the one in the bedroom, like I said, I use it to play music, and I use it as an alarm clock, and of course to do commands on the Xbox as well. And I also use it to adjust stuff because I have Roku devices in the house, and it interfaces with Roku as well. So I'll say something like, "Okay, Google, increase the volume on the living room Roku," and the volume will go up on the living room TV. And then I have it hooked up with my lamp on the sides of my bed are smart bulbs, and you can get those. They're like $5 at Walmart, and I'm like, "Okay, Google, reduce brightness to 10%.
I don't understand.
Okay, Google, reduce brightness to 10%. Boy, not today.
That's just say I don't understand.
Okay, Google, change brightness on the lights to 10%.
So many words.
There you go.
I gotta be all specific. I'll go, okay, Google, turn off port side light.
God damn. So many words. Oh, that's dope though.
Okay, Google, turn off starboard light.
Just turn off all the lights in here.
It's port side and starboard because my bed is a love boat.
It's like a horror movie. Oh my god. Lord. I didn't want to ask.
But so with his basketball team that he's got going on in the house, I mean,
yeah, clearly
is what it is.
That's dope.
But yeah, see, right there just gave Google needs to run us a check.
Right, facts.
On top of that, but the only killer is
looking for sponsors. So,
oh, you say your power bill?
Well, it's a smart bulb. So in order to keep the smart bulb on, you have to leave the lamp on. So when the lights are off all day, the lamp is on all day because it has to pass that current to the bulb.
I'm good on that. See, I don't need all that convenience. I'll
like,
pass.
Extra $2-3 a month on my electric bill. I'm like, fuck it.
I just need to control my Xbox. I'm good. I don't need all that other shit.
Reed's about to go back to the late 90s, early 2000s to get him a clap on.
Bruh. Hey, man, I had one like 10 years ago.
I'm wondering if that shit'll work. I'm going to try it real quick.
That's not going to work.
Nah, I tried it. I see would have been fine if the lights went off, though.
I remember when I would watch those commercials, I was like, yo, I want one. I was like, I don't know how old I was. I know
it was like the flyest shit ever.
But I was like,
they work though.
I gotta get one.
Man, they do work. Till niggas start shooting.
Yeah, I mean, but that was what that was before everything that you just did there. That was that way of doing that. The clapper, like it's plug one thing in and plug it in and boom, boom, and then that was it. It was great.
Yeah,
simpler
still
times.
To this day, no one has done anything to kill off the switch. The switch is still there to turn on your lights, turn on your fan, turn on whatever. Switch is still there.
It's true. It's funny you said Switch, and I immediately thought Nintendo. Like literally, when you said Switch, that was the first thing that popped into my head, and immediately I was like, "You damn right," because Nintendo is here forever. He ain't never going nowhere because nobody's ever entering into the mobile market to touch Nintendo.
Wow.
Not now, not ever.
He's back, baby.
Many people have tried and failed. Sony tried and failed. Nokia tried and failed. So many people have tried and failed to test
I remember my PSP. Like, I only had like 4 games for it.
Yeah, to the PSP, to the Vita.
Do you still have it?
Maybe. It's probably in storage somewhere. I think I tried once to trade it in at GameStop, and they're like, yeah, we'll give you $15 for it. And I was like, no. So I left.
Yeah,
And now if I take it into GameStop, they might give me 50 cents for it. So probably should have taken the 15
Maybe
when I
it's
could
worth
have.
more. Who knows?
If you find it, I'll shoot you $10 for it.
Yo,
Saying.
but
It'd be
I think
kinda lit.
I had NBA Live 2006 for it. I had
P Live 2006. Wow.
I had some samurai type game. It was pretty dope. I just can't remember the name of it.
Tenchu?
I can't remember it to save my life right now. What else did I have for it? I had whatchamacallit? I had Madden for it.
Of course you did.
And then
Of course you did.
I think Need for Speed. I think I had Need for Speed for it as well.
That makes sense.
Always got to have a racing game. So
Yeah.
What racing games y'all playing right now?
Forza. If it's not Forza, it's not. Well, I take them back. I go and I'll play Need for Speed for nostalgia every now and then, but pretty much Forza.
Like Forza Horizon, or I mean, obviously, most recently I played that Burnout Paradise remastered, but that's an older game. But otherwise, Forza.
I've got this game I downloaded on my console called WRC8. Have either of y'all played that?
It's a rally joint, right?
Yeah, I haven't played it yet. I just have it downloaded, and I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Rally games function too funky for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy the rally functions that are inside Forza Horizon. Forza Horizon just does everything.
That I need to after the 49 gigabyte Call of Duty update. I need to start downloading that Master Chief collection. So I can
bro, get on that
before Halo Infinite drops.
Yeah, that Master Chief collection. Knock that out.
Are you still on the original Halo, or are you on Halo 2 now?
No, I'm still on the original one. I haven't gone back to my playthrough yet.
Okay.
But I will continue on that path.
Did you watch that video I sent you in the group?
Which one?
It was pretty much like not the history of the creation of the game, but it's like the history of the world, like in the game, like it's the whole campaign, like it explains the campaign.
Oh, like, no, I didn't. I meant to, and then I forgot.
Because the only campaign I played some of it, but because I didn't own the original Halo game, like Halo 2 was the first one I owned. Like I didn't know everything about the campaign from the original Halo. So when it came to like the story aspect, there were some parts of the story that I just didn't know. So that did a great job of like tying it all together. But like if you watch that, like it gets you hyped for for Halo Infinite.
Of course. And it should be a reminder how great Halo Reach was.
Right. It's the campaign and the intricacies of the story itself. Like it does, watching that video does a great job of, bringing all that together. But when you're actually playing the campaign, where you're going through the game, like you realize you're like, man, they put a lot of work into this. And for even if Sony does have more exclusives at the time before, the Series X comes out, still Halo still is king over just about the only exclusives from Sony that can compete. I'm not even going to say they're better, but can compete with Halo, God of War, and
Last of Us, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and then there'll be 3 million people that would say Spider-Man.
And I love Spider-Man, but Spider-Man did not force me to go out and get a PlayStation just so I could play it.
No.
But Halo has made people, because they've been so intrigued, like what's so great about this? Like they've bought an Xbox just to play Halo.
Right.
So
exactly.
Because the thing is, I've played one Spider-Man game. If I don't play another one, okay. Yeah. Like I've played some good ones. I've had some good memories from it. From Halo, like you're missing the story, and you're missing what's going on, how it's evolving, stuff like that, and that's what's intriguing people. So they're like, fine, I'll get me an Xbox, figure out what this is about. And in that area, Microsoft is winning, and Sony, like, yeah, you have good exclusives, but your exclusives aren't making me buy your system. Like Dev's the only one still buying a PlayStation just to play MLB The Show, but he doesn't have to do that anymore. Shout out to you, Dev.
Shout out to Dev, free Dev.
Right, free Dev. Well, yeah, you're right about that. And now they not even have to buy a console to do that. Now it's like Microsoft is just like, hey, just get Game Pass and you can play it. So just give us that Game Pass money and you're good to go. And they can get all my Game Pass money.
Collection.
Yeah.
You're downloading it now?
I'm downloading it, yeah.
There you go. It's a lot of gigs.
Yeah, I might cancel that ODST though.
Nah, man. That's an important part of the story too. ODST is important. They're all important.
They're important, but I think ODST was my
102
least favorite
gigs. That's like Red Dead, basically.
of all of them.
Yeah, ODST it's not high on the list, but it's probably still higher than like Halo 5. A lot of people don't hold that, especially story-wise. Yeah. Halo 5 multiplayer was fine, but story-wise, it probably falls at the bottom of the list. Which is why Reach is arguably the best of all the Halo games. And I will fight on the top of that hill.
All right, and so anybody that disagrees with that, drop a comment below, and he'll reply back to you, and he'll go back and forth as long as you want.
I absolutely will. No spoilers for people that haven't played through Halo Reach, and there are a lot of people that agree with me. I know I've done a little bit of research on this, but I'm like, Halo Reach is fantastic story-wise and multiplayer aside, because most of the games all held good multiplayer, right? So, but Halo Reach was just like, the story was so freaking good, like, because it's the prequel to the original Halo, and because when Halo starts, they're going away. Because starting the playthrough again on Halo Combat Evolved, I heard them talking about Reach. And they're like, oh, we have to, we're leaving Reach and we're going da da da. So it's like, oh, Reach, this happened to Reach, blah blah blah. And then it's like, okay, I see. And then having played through Reach is so gripping and just. Do either of y'all remember Halo Reach, the story?
Well, I mean, I just also watched the video, so I got a refresher with that.
Oh, you did. So what'd you say, C?
Yeah,
I know you didn't, because you
run through it.
Admittedly just only played like through the first 2 games. Yeah. You didn't play Halo 3, so but we're gonna take care of that. We're gonna take care of that. We're gonna handle that. So when we get through Halo Reach,
that'll hype me up for Infinite too, because I'm not as excited as y'all are about Infinite. My big thing on the Series X right now is State of Decay 3. And that's all I'm waiting on right now.
And that's cool.
Buy that console so I can play that game on that console.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
And I don't know if y'all played through State of Decay 2, but it's just
so good. Oh my
but it's basically a survival RPG. And it's just ill to add those elements. Like they have real deaths. When your characters die, like no matter how much time you spent developing that character's strengths and stuff, your character just dies. And their stuff is just left behind in that spot. So now you got to go get another. It starts you again at another character, and now you got to go back to that spot where that character died. Make sure you don't die from the hazards in that spot, and go pick their stuff up. And it's wild, man.
But and Halo Reach is so good.
And the thing is, the thing that kills is
Noble Team. Oh.
The characters in that game. Characters have specific jobs. You have a doctor. You have somebody that's military. Yeah, you might have, somebody that has ran a store before and they have certain strengths. You have certain people that are better drivers than others and such, and everybody kind of has their roles. So, like, especially if you lose, like, your doctor. You lose, like, your doctor or, like, your electrician, you are, like, just looking everywhere to try to replace that person after they die. And then you got to develop that person again in order to be able to move on to another part of the storyline in the game. It is insane, bro.
Yo, the whole time you were talking, all I could think about was like towards like the end of Halo 3 and like how much you're missing, how amped I am for you to experience that.
We're gonna get on that.
Oh my God.
Is that are we gonna consider that a retro game?
Dude, Halo's retro. Halo 1 through 3 are retro.
That is retro at this point.
I'm just talking about for the sake of you all's retro retro
absolutely.
Oh,
podcast.
absolutely. Well, we will.
I think we might have to do a special edition of this podcast where we all play some multiplayer stuff. I'm just gonna throw that out there because
I
got something
agree.
we'll talk about later. But
Well, we got to get some of the cast members back from
And
partying.
excursion.
from the
I
non-social,
feel like, and I also feel like at some point in time, maybe, not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not 3 months from now, but at some point in time, I think we're going to give the people a 24-hour Sports Gaming Anonymous stream.
He says that after he's already wiping his eye.
Oh yeah, that's okay though, because
already thinking about it.
yeah, exactly, thinking about it.
Exhausted thinking that up.
Hey, so
because people done it 24-hour SGA.
Granted, we're all
gaming.
Well,
cast,
I mean, you all are closer in age than you are to me.
Cast.
But the thing is, still like two things. The other day, and I posted in the group, I was like, I can't believe that just a few years ago, I could stay up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, playing games all day, going to sleep for a couple hours, and then waking up and playing games all day again the next, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. But two, one thing I do miss, my roommate and I, one of my best friends, we when we got to college, Saturdays, neither one of us were like big party people, so we didn't go to the club, we didn't go to the bar, all that kind of stuff. So, there would be some Saturdays we'd be like, hey man, we're just playing Call of Duty all day today. And like we'd be in the dorm. We've got, I might have cooked that Friday, so we've already got food. We've got chips, we got all kinds of snacks, drinks, all that kind of stuff. So we're good, to go, for the day. And like I miss those days like every now and then where you could just literally all day, all you were focused on was I've got my food, got my drinks. I'm just gonna focus on gaming all day.
I remember them.
That's gonna be fun.
Long gaming sessions before SGA, this pre-SGA days when we were SBC, and we had some times. We had some long gaming sessions, like all nighters into the morning, sun coming up. Yeah, I mean it's out there.
24 straight hours.
Hey, we can take shifts if we have to, as long as somebody's on here, somebody's live, somebody's doing something, and we are in maybe it's at least 2-3 people, maybe at least 2-3 people, at a time, at least going throughout the whole course of the day. Like, I just think that at some point in time, we can attempt to make that happen. Obviously,
I think it could be successful.
All my long stretches of gaming were really like RPG stuff. Like I take a deep dive into like a Dragon Age game or Elder Scrolls, especially like Skyrim. Like I remember like ridiculous amounts of hours. I think I must have spent probably about 300-400 hours playing.
What's the limit to like how long you can stream on like Twitch?
You can just keep going.
I about to say, I don't think there is a
limit. Can you? There's no limit on Twitch?
Yeah, there's 24/7 channels that like play music.
Oh man, bro.
You can just keep going.
Say less. We could cycle out games. We're not gonna play. We wouldn't get on there and play the same game for 24 hours. That's dumb. Right. Nobody. There's no way that feasibly would make sense to me. But
24 hours of Warzone, like
chill. I mean, it's funny because Call of Duty is one of those games where you could cycle that in several times. You could just let's just multiplayer and jump back out. All right, let's do a little bit of Warzone, jump back out, move on to something else. Jump back in to multiplayer, pick a different mode in multiplayer, jump back out to something else. I think we could absolutely do that. And that might be one of those times where C, finally gets these hands in Tekken 7. I mean, I did a stream earlier on Twitch where I gave a couple people these hands in Tekken 7. I'm gonna post that. Look out for that on our YouTube channel and my YouTube channel and whatever. But
I forgot we had a little talk about that last podcast.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, whenever you're ready, you'll be ready. I mean, I'm not rushing you. I mean, either way,
I'm gonna download it tonight.
The end result's gonna be the same either way. So I'm not
downloading a lot of games tonight.
You're not.
I actually have a queue right now. I downloaded Battletoads a little bit earlier too, and we also downloaded Perfect Dark.
We did on Rare Replay. We got some Rare Replay stuff on download coming soon to the old school gamers. Gonna be bringing that to you. So yeah, we got that coming. Maybe some other stuff. I downloaded that Escapist 2 thing, we was talking about, but should we check that stream out? We got that coming. We're gonna post that on Streets of Rage 4. Old school gamers play Streets of Rage 4. We got that up. We got a quick review and how we felt about it. We put a score on it and talked about how we felt about it. Streets of Rage 4 is great. It's fantastic. If you haven't played it, go play it. Do yourself a favor and go play. It's on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you don't gotta even pay for it.
Yep.
Go download Streets of Rage 4. It's amazing. Even if you have no ties to Streets of Rage, it's still amazing.
I'm gonna tell you what Streets of Rage does for those of us in our generation, 30 plus.
Oh, it's so good.
It brings you back to being 7 years old, sitting down with a Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo. Like, it brings you back to that. And you sitting there just being goofy as hell, cracking jokes, playing the game. And that's basically what we sounded like a little while ago.
Basically.
Yeah, and we were just bowling and having fun, and that's what games are supposed to be, man. And
yep,
it's an excellent title.
It is. It is an excellent title, and we need more. We need a lot more titles like that. And shout out to, even though I know Battletoads, like I said, it's available to pre-install on Game Pass right now. It goes live August 20th, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to have any online co-op. But it's got 3-player co-op local, so it advertises as 3-player couch co-op because, as you know, there's 3 Battletoads. So if you got 2 friends or your family or you got kids or whatever, 3 rock out at home and play Battletoads. Like, there should, we need more game. Prepare for it to probably be hard because all the Battletoads games have always been painfully difficult. So, be prepared for that. But, it is what it is. Like, sit down, get some local co-op going. Like, those games are fun. Whether it's those beat 'em up and cooperative, and we described Streets of Rage 4 in that unique space where that's when games were competitive and cooperative at the same time, where a lot of games don't do that anymore because Streets of Rage games like have a point system, and even this playing through Streets of Rage 4, at the end of every level, it tells you who came in first and second in points. Like, before, it was just in the old days, it was just like
you just look and be like, I got your ass.
Right. Now they legit tell you, like, okay, you were first, you were second, this is how many points you each had. Here's the breakdown of the points after each round. Yeah. So it's like you're competing together and against each other at the same time. It's great. So it's like and a lot of games do that. And I mentioned that before, where a lot of games are either one or the other. You're either competitive or you're cooperative. There's no crossbreed between the two. But Streets of Rage 4, it's legit both. Because you're talking trash, it's like you're both like trying to get so they can see who can get the most amount of points. Like, it's the same thing. And those games were back in the day. I remember like the original Turtles arcade game where you would play. I remember the level where April, where you finally go to rescue April, like midway through the game, and whoever like gets the last hit on the boss gets a kiss from April. Like, that's like dope. It's like games don't do that anymore. So it's like everybody's fighting the boss. And I forget what the boss to that level was. I think it was Bebop or Rocksteady. But it's like, you fight, everybody's fighting, everybody's trying to get the last hit in because everybody wants to kiss from April. Like, it's dope. Like, it's that era of games again did games in a way where it's just not like that anymore. And some games still, like I said, some games are still trying. Like I said,
there's a handful of games out there that still kind of, you got the Cupheads and certain games like that.
Cuphead is so good.
They're so fire.
Cuphead is so good.
Some developers still understand like that. People still enjoy that.
They do. And Cuphead is dope. Cuphead gets it, and Cuphead is, it's cooperative and it's hard and not hard, and it's great because hard games.
That's a game that makes you rage quit. Like, oh my gosh. Like, not today, no more.
Hard games are okay if they're hard by design, not by mistake. Right? Yeah. Sometimes games are hard by mistake.
Bad controls or bad camera angle.
Yeah. When a game is hard by design, fairly facts. like if a game is designed well and is hard, by design, that's fine, just as long as it's fair. Like Punch Out, the original Punch Out NES, hard by design. It didn't cheat you. You thought it cheated you sometimes, and then you're like, oh, I just don't know the
You
pattern.
couldn't keep up with the pattern. Yeah, you
Right,
got
I
to
don't
learn
know
the
the
pattern.
I got to figure out the pattern. I feel like I'm getting cheated, but I'm not. I just need to learn the pattern. Even the Tyson fight at the end is like, yo, this is
He does the
impossible.
most.
This is
You're like,
impossible. But Nintendo figures out how to like make the cues. You got to look for the cues. Apparently there's like somebody in the crowd, like a photographer's flash. When the photographer's flash goes off, he's about to do a big punch. Like things like that is just like, it's great. When things are designed that way to be hard in that fashion, it's fabulous. And Cuphead is one of those games that it is just hard by design, and it's fair. And I know that because my 6-year-old son loves Cuphead and will keep playing. He'll die and keep playing. And that's how I know it's hard by design. And it's not because he understands that he's dying because, all right, I haven't figured out
He hasn't figured out how to.
I haven't figured out how.
To the next
How to beat the pattern, how to beat the boss, how to avoid the things that are happening. It's not just because if he was a 6-year-old brain can understand I'm losing because the game's not controlling well, right? I'm losing by mistake. That's understandable even for a 6-year-old. So a 6-year-old understanding the challenge of the game, he's enjoying the game. So even though he's dying, he's like, okay, I'm going to keep playing and try to beat this because it's hard and I'm dying, but I know I can do it if I just can learn to push through the pattern and avoid this, and maybe I'll do it a little differently this time. And it's just like watching him go through that and us going through it together sometimes when I play with him is like, okay, this is great because this is the type of games that I play with. We think about the hard games that we played growing up on the NES, like Contra, stuff like that. It was just hard for no damn reason. It was just like, yo, but seeing the evolution of a game like Contra, the evolution of a Contra is Cuphead, right? That's the new generation of those hard games, side scrolling and shooting. You can do different things. There's different power-ups. You can level, you can change out your character's options, what they can do. There's boss fights. Cuphead is so dope, and it's got evolving bosses, and the boss has 4 different forms, and it's fantastic. It's just fantastic, and it's great to see him learning that and not like I put a game in front of him and it's not
like, oh, this is stupid.
right. Exactly. He gets it and he'll play through it, and it's just like, okay, he can do this. Like, I got when Luigi's Mansion 3 came out and I got that for him, he had it beat a month later. He's like, okay, I beat this. It's like, oh, okay. All right, let's on to the next one. Like, he beat Mario Odyssey. He beat, what I'm saying? Like, these games I put in front of him, he wants a game. It's like, okay, well, I beat this game. Like, he's, his Pokemon Shield. Like, he's got Pokemon level 70, 80, 60. Like, I'm like, okay, you're functioning this on your own. Like, you're not getting, all you have is the list that I gave you of what types are stronger than others. And, he holds on to that list like it's a treasure. Like, so it's like, it's just cool. It's cool to see the evolution of games, but structurally, a lot of them are still holding true to what games were about and the foundation of games. Like, it's games can be hard, and you just got to figure out why they're hard and figure out the challenge and figure out, because that's what games are. Games are challenging. It's creative thinking. So it's like, okay, it's patterns. It's okay. How do you challenge your brain to think about something differently than you saw it 5 minutes ago or 40 seconds ago? Okay, I did this one way before. If I do it that way again, I'm going to die. So I got to do it differently. So it's like games is creative thinking. I've shared this before. If you told me I had an option to let my kid play games for 10 hours or watch TV for 10 hours, I'm going to let him play games for 10 hours because at least that's challenging him. At least his brain, his eyes and his brain and his fingers and his hands are functioning in unison and challenging and moving. If if you just veg out and dull out in front of the TV for 10 hours, your brain's going to turn to
What
mush.
did you use?
Like nothing's happening. Your brain's not being challenged by just sitting and watching YouTube for 10 hours.
Right.
Like there's something challenging happening in your brain. No, granted, you don't want either to be happening for 10 hours, but for the sake of the argument of that I'm
That's a
making,
different conversation, but I got you.
That's a different conversation. But for the sake of X's and O's, I'd rather say, okay, go play games because that's your challenge. Something's happening. Your brain is doing things. It's having creative thought. It's challenging. It's challenging.
It's problem solving.
It's exactly. That's the other word I was looking for. It's problem solving. And that's literally a core function that we need, that you use every day. Problem solving, creative thinking, not if X plus Y equals Z, what's X? Like that doesn't help anybody, right? Unless you are an engineer, no like shade at all.
But unless you're X plus Y equals Z, but going
right. But unless you need those functions in a very particular type of field, that does nothing for most of us. Okay. Everything I learned from grade school through high school, I use almost none of it except everything I learned in English. Like everything I learned in math for 12 years, I've completely forgotten and don't use, except for basic math. The only math you need is all the math you learn up until grade, 3. As long as you know the multiplication table.
You don't play pool?
And how to, I play pool, but I didn't need
geometry.
Yeah, sure. But at the same time, it's like, my creative thought is like, okay, if I hit the ball here, it's going to go this way a little bit. Like,
but in your head,
a little bit.
You know the angles in your head. You can say, if I hit the ball right here with this amount of strength, I'm going to get this end result. And
this is probably why I'm not very good at billiards, because I'm not a mathematician. I'm not good at math like that. So
go ahead and keep that as a note.
So that's why I play it for fun, but that's not a thing for me. It's like, okay. And again, unless you're trying to be a professional billiards player, what is that doing for you? Like, so and as you mentioned before, with the homeschool and learning life lessons and learning everyday things, which is far more important than learning sequential math, pre-calculus math. Like
a lot of what happens in public school is it becomes memorization, and
right.
What
that's not learning.
What we've taken as an approach, in the homeschool environment that we've set up here, is understanding and understanding processes and what happens and why things are, and the why becomes, the whys are invaluable in our home, and because of that, my son can take certain information and process it, and then he can take other information that's totally alien to him, and he would just use the same methods to try to process that information. Whereas our generations, we all kind of just, they were taught, we had the times tables and things like that, where,
right.
We had to figure that out. So, now, they're teaching kids how to understand these things, and how to understand these things is going to be, what allows us, as a society, to take another step forward. So I'm growing in appreciation for that, and it's something that video games have been doing with children for years. And what that is you're in a game, and on the we know in the early levels of a game, things are a lot simpler, and as you move along, those tasks become more complex. Until you're at the end of the game and you're jumping over fireballs and climbing ladders and jumping down chutes and trying to figure out puzzles and all sorts of nonsense. And you don't realize as a kid, you're just like, this game is hard, but you're solving complex problems. And all I've done is taken that, which I felt was invaluable, was completely priceless to me to learn, and we've just taken that and said, okay, let's just do that with everything now.
Right.
So now you learn your math like that, you learn your language like that, you learn everything like you're gonna learn how this shit works, and then you'll understand it better, so that when some new information comes. So I've got a child that's 4 years old, and he reads, and he will read words that he's never seen before because he knows to sound it out. He knows what the sounds sound like, and he just puts the words together.
Right.
So that's important for kids to be able to solve problems and figure these things out. And games really do that for children. So
they really do. And,
yeah.
And I think we're finally getting to a point where more and more people are understanding that, because obviously you talk about, we talk about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. That wasn't, the games were very like, video games rot your brain. It's like, no, that's how that works. That's, the TV maybe, but video games, no, there's too much happening. There's too many, like people understand there's too many things happening
you have to focus on.
They're way right, and it's like, and the evolution that me and C have seen. When we started playing games, we're talking about one button and a direct and a joystick, to two buttons and a D-pad. You got 4 buttons and 6 buttons, but it's like we came up with the evolution of that, and even with 2 buttons, what Nintendo was able to do with 2 buttons and a D-pad is incredible. Like, if you think about what they were, 2 buttons and how those games function with just 2 buttons is like, man, I don't even know how to even make. You look at somebody now who's, the controllers have 10 buttons, 8 buttons. It's like, that's unfathomable. So, but it's like,
yeah, like 8 buttons.
Yeah, you got 8 buttons, a D-pad, 2 sticks.
But it's like, it's like the things that you have to do now, that there's so many things happening. Like you're managing, your fingers are managing all of those things seamlessly. Your brain is immediately telling your fingers, left bumper, left A, left bumper, left A, X. Like, it's doing all these things, and it's doing them at a split second, like, thing where your brain is making very quick transitions, very fast. So your brain is seeing something on the screen, and it's relaying it to your nerve endings. It's relaying it to your fingers so fast that is happening in a way that isn't applicable to a lot of other things that people do day to day. Again, like watch TV, watching a game show on TV, watching cartoons, stupid crap on TV. It's just like, this is like, nothing's happening. Your brain's not being challenged. Nothing's relaying. Your brain's not relaying to other parts of your body to do other things. Games are very fast twitch. Things are happening. It's problem solving, creative thinking. It's just great. And I'm standing on the gaming hill at this point. And again, as a 30+ year gamer, I will gladly die on this hill championing for video games, because they're very unlike a lot of other things. Yes, do we have a lot of games that are like brainless? And I say brainless in a way where it's like, for us, it's brainless, right? You're talking about like a Doom, right? Where it's just like, go shoot things. But at the same time, how many things, even in that setting, how many fast twitch things is your brain doing and relaying to your fingers that you're doing like 6 different, you're like, okay, jump, shoot, duck, aim. Like, you're doing so many things that it might seem brainless, but it really isn't. The content is brainless. It's Doom. You're just shooting things. But what's happening, what your brain is doing, is not brainless at all. It's literally the least brainless thing happening. And you're talking about, and you look at RPGs, there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of reading, a lot of understanding, there's a lot of figuring out. There's a lot of, I got to read maps. You got to, what the NPC just told you, non-playable character for those following at home. Yep. For you speak to one of those people and they give you directions.
Following the compass.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I need help and I need you to do this, this, and this. And I think I remember last up in the field over here, and now you have a waypoint and you have to follow that and do like, and again, a lot of reading involved, a lot of exploration, creativity, a lot of creative thinking, and a lot of these, and again, this is what you look at games like Minecraft, creativity. That's all about creativity, right? So it's like, games are fantastic. Okay. And again, I will die on this hill And they just are. They're way better than most other things that we intake that are that we get entertainment from, right? As a medium and as a media outlet and as a form of entertainment, it's almost light years ahead of so many other things that we do in that fashion. You know, you watch TV, we watch movies, and you can get some intellectual stuff from movies, but your brain's not doing anything, right? It's just taking in information. Your brain's it's not challenging. It's not doing anything like physically challenging or productive, if you will. Like, again, you're learning, and that's not all movies. That's just I'm using some movies as an example because if you go watch X action movie, you're not learning anything from that. There's just shit blowing up and cars and I love Fast and Furious.
Physics.
I love all of the Fast and Furious movies, but again, it's just you're not learning anything from those movies. They're just
watch that stuff.
They're just pure adrenaline, just like
pure entertainment.
I'm just here to see cars drive through buildings. I'm here to see cars take down airplanes, cars fall from the sky. I'm here for all of that, right? You're just there for over the top nonsense. But games, no game is like that. At no point in time in any game you're playing, your brain is not challenging you to do something. I will challenge anybody to find a game that's not challenging you somehow, where you're, at the very least, your brain is making quick relays for hand-eye coordination between your eyes, brain, and fingers. Something's happening. Something is always happening in games. And even if it's not happening rapidly, again, I mentioned RPGs, especially the slow-paced ones, maybe JRPGs, like you may not be making fast twitch decisions, but you're learning a whole crap ton and you're doing a shitload of reading. Yeah. Because if you're not doing any reading in those games, you're not playing anything because you don't know what to do. If you can't read, you can't do anything in those games. So you're doing a lot of reading. You're doing a lot of reading and understanding, because guess what? You might just be able to read it, but if you can't understand that what the character told you is that you need to go to the third level and get the key out of the closet door, out of the closet, like
example, bro, like Metal Gear Solid. And you had to move the controller over to the second port in order to fight the boss. Otherwise, they knew what commands you were putting in. Like, that's insane.
Just
insane.
This is the part of the podcast where just like I again ram home the fact that games are great, and games are not evil. Games are not evil. They were never designed to be this like, oh, I think games were designed in a way where it's like even the most basic game, starting from like the beginning, you're talking about like Pong. Even Pong is challenging you to like, yo, I got to make sure this ball doesn't go past this thing. So your brain is like telling your fingers, yo, up, down. Like all you're doing is moving a joystick up and down. But guess what? It's happening so fast that your brain is telling your fingers, yo, we got to make sure. And it's creating an anticipation thing where it's like, the ball is coming back this way. Should I go up or should I go down real quick? Right. Like, I don't know. Like, let me wait for it to get here and then see if it bounces this way. I'll move it up here real fast. Things are happening in even the most basic game where there's no reading. There's no buttons. You're just moving
multiple controls or anything like that.
You're just moving a joystick up and down. And even in the most basic game possible, your brain is challenging. Something's happening. Something is happening in your brain that's challenging you to do something and to think in a very anticipating way, in a creative way. Games are great. That's all I got for it. I'm gonna keep saying it, and I will always keep saying it.
That sounds like a great thing to end on. Games
Absolutely.
are great.
Games are fantastic. Play games. Play video games somehow. Everybody's playing video. People playing video games on their
mobile
phone,
games on their phone and all of that. Yeah.
Hey, those are games.
The Call of Duty game on my phone looks like a PS3 game.
Right. Absolutely.
Games. They got Warzone on there.
Yeah. Games are great, bro. Games are great.
I got Battle Royale on my first-person shooter, Battle Royale, and it switches to third person on the mobile game.
And guess what? In a month, you'll have Game Pass on that joint. and you'll be playing.
Games are great.
Thanks.
Games are fantastic, and you can load up Tekken 7 and get these hands. So anyway, thank you for joining the Sports Gaming Anonymous podcast for another week in the books here. This was episode 9. Again, we've broken through the barrier, the monotony of
we're about to be at double-digit episodes here soon.
We're coming up on it. We're coming up on it fast. You know, we need y'all. We need y'all to get down here, hit these like buttons, comment, watch these videos, share them.
Watching this shit, man. Somebody watch this shit.
Watch it. Put it in front of somebody. Tell somebody else to watch it. Yo, just link it, share it to somebody, and be like, "Yo, just watch this real quick." You got some time. Just let this play in the background. Let this play in the background, bro.
It's a really good show. Watch
you just need to listen. Just listen. It's fantastic. Dre, tell them where they can find us on these media outlets.
All right. So all the official places that you can find us, you can find us at Twitter at Sports Games Anon. You can find us on Instagram at Sports Gaming Anonymous. Most likely you're watching this on YouTube, but just in case you're not watching this on YouTube, check out our YouTube channel, Sports Gaming Anonymous. Check out our Facebook page, Sports Gaming Anonymous. And we've got Twitch pages. Each one of us have our own individual Twitch pages. We've got, we'll soon be streaming live on YouTube from our Sports Gaming Anonymous page. So that's what we all got in the works right now. Those are all the places you can follow us. You can like, subscribe, retweet, comment. If you send us a comment, we're going to read it. Most likely we will respond back to you. So, hey, come engage. Let us know what you're thinking. We'll let you know what we're thinking. That's what we're here for. And that's pretty much it.
That's right. Check out Sports Game Anonymous. Check out Flash and Dash podcast, and come check out the Old School Gamers. And I'm Flash. Thank you, C. Thank you, Dre. Appreciate y'all. And we will catch y'all next week with another episode. Peace out.
Deuces.